what are you doing in boxing? Why are you talking about boxing? Why do you have this position in boxing?
Hey, what's going on? Who's there? Come on. Are you there?
You know, you didn't fight. No, true. It's like having an opinion on politics. You weren't a politician, but I've heard you talk about things in society. Just because you haven't done something doesn't mean you can't talk about it, right? What do you mean politics? We all talk about life. I've heard you talk about things in life. Talk about.
Who we got here? Sean. Hello. Ungar and Sean. Welcome. Any questions? What do you want to talk about, chaps? What's on your mind, boxing-wise? What are your opinions on the upcoming card? Bam Rodriguez, Martinez, Yard versus who have we got? Yeah, you know. Oh, we've got a few more people coming in here. Haney versus Norman. Who you got and why? Norman knocks him out. I did a preview, and I think I think he's damaged goods, Haney. I mean, he started very young, didn't he? He was boxing in what in the old timers would call, you know, smokers. And he cut his teeth very young in Mexico at 15. And I think he's damaged goods. I think Norman's too young, too strong, too good, and too fresh. So, yeah, I'm picking Norman by stoppage. Who have we got? Dubois ducking Frank Sanchez. He's injured, isn't he? Supposedly. I mean, I don't know. You never know, do you? There could be a money thing, and they're kind of, making an excuse. I don't know. But it's a shame. I wanted to see that. Dubois Sanchez is a good matchup. See what Dubois got left. Sanchez still coming off that defeat to Caballero. Good matchup, though. Will Franklin give Moses rounds? Asked Sean. If you can get through the early rounds, it makes life interesting because Moses is just so inexperienced. He's hardly done any rounds. So Franklin, if I was Franklin, he's very resilient, very tough. I'd have the tightest guard imaginable. I'd get in close. The eye of the storm is the safest place, probably. So getting close and just kind of sort of hold him back, diffuse the bomb, so to speak. It's a good matchup. I think it's potentially can give him rounds. What we got here is Lee Donald. Should Dubois fight Wardley instead, or maybe that's part of the plan? Yeah, it could be. Dubois versus Wardley. Keeping it in-house, Queensbury. Can't say I'd blame them, but I mean, they've got so many heavyweights now at Queensbury. They could literally have their own league. And I like the idea of matching them up, I mean, as critical as I am of UFC, and I am very critical of the whole model, the economic model, nevertheless, they fight each other, don't they? It's very entertaining, and they don't give a fuck whether they lose. I lost this one, I beat this person or something. It doesn't matter. I like that mentality. Losses happen. I don't think it's that important. Should Dubois fight Wardley? Oh, I've done that one yet. Dubois Wardley would be AC. I agree with you. Says Timmy. I can't even read that. Then we got Jack. Big up, Joe. Hello, Jack, mate. Nice to have you here. Dubois versus Fabio, says Sean. Yeah. Who do you guys think would win that? I mean, Fabio can be hit, and Dubois, for all his fault psychologically, he hits like a truck. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Hit the like button, chaps. Apparently, I'm supposed to say hit the like button because they, they count these. Does anyone know why they count the likes? What is the meaning of that? Tell me, please tell me. Who else we got? Joe Stunner Live. Oi, oi. So Tel Aviv Steve. Hello, Tel Aviv Steve. Regular commentator. Nice one, mate. Fabio has more heart, I think. Yeah, without question. Well, psychologically, he's just sort of a natural fighter. Dubois isn't. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, the heart, in terms of heart, Fabio is just off the chart. You'd want him by your side in a street row, wouldn't you? Or in a war or something. Natural fighter. Just want the truth. What football team do you support? I am from North London. I used to support Arsenal, not Tottenham, but I haven't followed football for donkey's years. I really haven't. I got sick of it. I got sick of the whole, do you know what I mean? The whole culture around it. Millionaires acting like pussies, diving on the floor to win penalties. All that sort of culture just turned me off totally. And also, without sounding like some sort of Farage-esque person, I'm sick of the fact that the whole thing is owned by foreigners. Look at the Premiership teams: Arabs, Americans own them, Russians. Well, then it's not a British league anymore. Trust me, I'm not a reform supporter. I'm an old-style socialist, so don't get me wrong. I'm not going to start pointing at dinghies coming across the North Sea. But I want, if it's a British football league, it should be owned by the British. There should be British players. It's not. It's an international league. The whole thing became like one gigantic money box, and I just bollocks to this. But to answer your question, yeah, Arsenal was my team, going back to the days of Liam Brady and Malcolm McDonald, even, and a long time ago. The aircraft carrier. Salute, Joe Stunner. Thank you very much, sir. Just watched preview of the new Naz movie with Pierce Brosnan as Brendan Ingle. Yeah, I've heard about this. If anyone, is it out yet? If anyone sees it, please let me know what you think. Interesting. Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan was in a movie, I can't remember the name of it, but he played a sort of Jerry Adams character, and he played it brilliantly. He basically impersonated Jerry Adams, and he was brilliant. He's actually a better actor than people have previously given him, credit for, I think. Fabio's got a chin. He recovers fast, says the aircraft carrier. Yes, he does. He can be clipped, but there's absolutely no quitting the guy. It's quite shocking to watch. So I think, bloody hell, good fighter. Lee Donald. The more likes, the more the channel video appears on people's YouTube feeds, I believe. Ah, okay. Thanks, Lee. Now I know. Yes. That makes sense. Yeah, because I started saying, "I'll click the like button," and about a year into having the channel, I thought, "What the fuck am I asking people to click the like button for? Why? Is there some meaning behind it?" And people have told me that there is, but I honestly don't know, mate. Oh, have we got here? Spartan Will 15. Big up Joe Stunner every time. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Just want the truth. At least you don't support Tottenham or Leeds. What have you got against Leeds? Yeah, they were, maybe if you're, I don't know how old you are, but Leeds they were a dirty team in the 70s. Oh my God. They virtually have a fight on the pitch. Yeah. Your old Dar says Leeds. I'm assuming, are you Irish then, my friend? Just your name hints at some Irish background. Tel Aviv Steve. Michael Watson is a gooner. Yes, he is. I remember him wearing the shirt and everything. Have we got here? Dubois versus Fury. Though it never happened, would be fascinating. Dubois versus Fury. Yeah, it would be. Big punch against skills. Who have we got here? Paul Martin. Hey Joe, big fan from around Philadelphia in the US. Love your insight and demeanor. One of my favorite channels. Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate that, mate. And by the way, my ex-wife lives in Philly. She lives in, the fuck is that place called? Glendale? Bear with me a second. Let me just. Oh, I can't. I was going to grab something that I think had the. Oh, maybe if I look over here, I'll tell you where she lives. She does live in Philly, though. Yeah, I've been to Philadelphia. When I lived in the US, I was over there, and I liked it. But and then I like Baltimore, and that's meant to be like a really rough place. But I thought it was all right. All right, where is she? Where are you, Tracy? Oh, bless you, darling. Where are you? We get on very well. Me and my ex-wife were still good friends. It was never any enmity there. I'm trying to find where she lives. You got me thinking now, mate. Where are you? I can't find it. Glendale? Is there a place in Philly called Glendale? Let me know. Or am I talking bollocks? Probably bollocks. Anyway, who have we got? Joe, how the hell are you? Says Martin. I think you've got the heating on. Good man. I haven't. Fucking haven't, mate. I'll tell you what. Look. Fingerless gloves. I think I got these off Temu or something like that. That's a fucking place. But no heating goes on here, mate. There you go. Look at that. Oh, it looks real rock. It looks like rollerball gloves, doesn't it? No, I don't put the heating on. Fuck them. I'm not giving them my money. Fuck them. What have we got here? Tel Aviv Steve. Yes, Paul. Joe Steiner, one of the best boxing channels. Steve, you're a darling. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much for the comment. I always appreciate your support. What's the best boxing movie? Says, I just want the truth. The best boxing movie for me is Raging Bull. I think Robert De Niro's performance is probably the best screen acting I've ever seen. Joe Pesci was brilliant. It's just a great movie because it doesn't try to make the fight scenes look real, which is virtually impossible to do. It adds a sort of surreal air to them, you know, with the smoke, and it's all in black and white. And if you've never seen Raging Bull, go see it. It's a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. I still think Taxi Driver is Martin Scorsese's sort of magnum opus, if you like, but Raging Bull's very good, and The King of Comedy as well is fantastic film. Those three, which were, I think, in quick succession, maybe not, but those three Scorsese movies are classics: Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, Raging Bull, and then of course you got Goodfellas, which we all know about, which is great. What have we got then? What's the latest boxing movie? Stephen Fulton versus Shaki Foster, says Lee, next month. That's a good fight. I've forgotten about that one. What's your initial thoughts? Foster, I think. Yeah, Foster. Lara versus Zanibek. Lara's just ageless, isn't he? Cruz versus Lamont Roach. Cruz is beatable. I like his style and he's great fun, but I don't know. Lamont Roach might get him, I think, points. That's my initial reaction. And it's all on the same bill. Oh, do you know what, Lee? I've forgotten about that, mate. I've forgotten about that card, but it is creeping up on us. They all creep up on us. You get these cards sort of floating around and, you know, oh, yeah, that's 2 months down the road. And the next thing you know, it's on top of you. Okay, Joe, Haney and Norman are both exactly the same odds. 2023 was a problem. I'm having a little punt on a stoppage for Norman. But at the same time, it could be that Haney wins on points. Haney, depends what Haney's got left. I think he's damaged goods. I think he looked appalling against Ramirez, totally gun shy. I think Norman might be catching him at the right time. Callum, how are you doing, mate? Callum Hayes, nice to see you, mate, or at least have you here. How's it going, mate? Did you see the Dubois pulled out of the Sanchez fight? Yeah, we were just talking about it. And a couple of guys have said they think it's because Dubois is going to be matched with Wardley, which is a possibility, of course. You know, the old sick note has its power on occasions. And unfinished business with Joe Blow Parker. Yeah. I don't think Dubois Parker will ever happen, to be honest. I shouldn't say that, but, you know. I'd be surprised if it happened. I think if it happens, it's going to be when they're both coming off stoppage losses. But I think that would be a sort of end of career cash out type of matchup. You know what I mean? Who we got here? Timmy had. I can't read your name, mate. TMMYHSBND. I'm going to call you Timmy. If you don't like Timmy, it's better than trying to pronounce that. The Fight is a good film. That is the one about Mickey Ward, isn't it? With Christian Bale as his half brother. I think he won an Oscar for that. Yeah. Who have we got here then? Gerard. Yeah, hello, Gerard. I know you, mate. Good to see you here. Is it right Dubois pulled out of Sanchez negotiations? He's pulled out apparently. I heard it was injury, but correct me if I'm wrong. I could see him getting the Wardley fight. Yeah, we were just talking about that. I think Dubois Wardley is a distinct possibility, both promoted by Queensbury. Yeah, quite possibly. Could Fabio versus AJ get made? Says Z4 Man or Z4 Man. Fabio AJ, both coming off bad knockouts, but AJ coming off a bad knockout. Fabio scoring a great knockout, or I know a lot of people said it was an early stoppage, but I'm in probably the minority that doesn't think it was early, but whatever. They won't put AJ in with Fabio. I mean, I think AJ, if his mind was right, could beat Fabio, could knock him out. But because you can hit Fabio, but dangerous fight. Fabio's a handful for anyone. Does Noakes beat Mason? In my opinion, no. I think Abdullah Mason gets Noakes by stoppage. But I do like Noakes. I just think Mason's got that. See, Mason's been on the floor in one of his fights. He was on the floor twice, I think, in the first round of one of his fights. He can be tagged. And maybe he's a bit young, a bit green. I'm not saying Noakes can't win, but I'm going to pick Mason. Gerard, bloody hell, I just asked the same thing. Apologies, I should have read the comments. Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it. It's all cool. Joshua Heath says, Martinez has little chance of beating Bam. He was spanning right hands until Ioka clipped him and put him down. Yeah, I did the review. I was trying to be kind to Martinez. You know, when you do a review, sometimes you're thinking, okay, I've got to be fair. I want to be balanced. And I'm thinking about Martinez from what I've seen of him, like against Ioka, and I'm thinking, he ain't got a fucking chance against Bam. No, Bam wins by stoppage for me. It'll be an upset. I'll be very surprised if Martinez beats Bam. Jack Catterall is fighting the winner of Norman Haney, apparently. Please let Norman win that. I can't sit through Catterall versus Haney. Carl, can you imagine? One of the worst fights I've ever seen was between two very out of shape heavyweights, Tony Tubbs and Tim Witherspoon. Oh my God. I think it was 15 rounds. Oh no. Who have we got here? Joe RY2XQ. It's very cryptic. Does the other Mason, Gary, beat AJ? Gary Mason? No, he wouldn't beat AJ. But he did have a good chin. Gary Mason only ever lost one fight, and that was to Lennox Lewis. Of course, he died young in a cycling accident, got knocked over when he was on his bicycle and killed. But he was a huge bloke, Gary Mason. Yeah, I'd pick AJ to beat him, to be honest with you. Lee Donnell, if you call the Hurricane a boxing film, would be one of my favourites. Yeah, Denzel Washington always delivers. There's still lots of Reuben Carter fights on YouTube. Yes, there are. The sort of legend of Reuben Carter is promoted and probably fed into by the movie, but also the fact that he did so many years in prison, a life sentence, and then was released. There are lots of people that think he was guilty. I think if you look at that case, I've heard, someone I sort of vaguely know, a lady named Pat Brown, is a criminal profiler. And she thinks he was guilty. I think I was on her show and we talked about it. It was a podcast. Criminal profiler Pat Brown. Go and have a look at it. I'm on there. We talked about we did a boxing thing, and we talked about a lot of the naughtiness that went on in boxing. People being murdered, and the Frankie Carbo, Blinky Palermo era, and all that sort of thing. Go and have a look if you're interested. Rather. Benny Garth, hi Joe, I'm late to the chat, so sorry if it's been asked already. What's your best guess on Usyk does next? Yeah, in all honesty, I'm not avoiding the question, Benny. I don't know. I think he probably needed a big rest, and he took it. And whether he was as injured as he said he was or not, that was his excuse. But I didn't begrudge him the rest. I'm not there again. I don't mind that the WBO title has been taken off him or he's given it up, because if you don't fight, why should you keep your titles? Or you can make him a champion in recess or whatever the fuck it's called. You know, some of the ruling bodies do that sort of thing. I don't know. What's he going to do next? Probably hanging around for maybe Fury again, cash out fight. But of course, if I had a magic wand, it would be Usyk versus Caballero. That would be the one I would pick. But it won't happen. Caballero don't bring anything to the table other than the fact that he's bloody good. Extremely high risk, low reward. Okay. Joshua Heath says Martinez was only able to swarm all over Ioka because Ioka's a counterpuncher with really slow feet. Okay, that's true. With good foot. Bam's a counterpuncher with good footwork and is difficult to land clean on. Bam, everything from the floorboards up with Bam is impressive. Very, very impressive fighter indeed. And again, I think he knocks Martinez out. Martin, when are people going to understand that AJ needs psychological build-up rather than physical? The proposed fight would give him the ring walk confidence to start with. Yeah, it's all psychological. It's all mental with AJ. Ever since he got splashed by Andy Ruiz, never really recovered from that because it took away the sense of invincibility and also the manner of the defeat. He was on the floor several times. He doesn't have good recovery powers. I don't think his chin's quite as bad as people make out. It's not China, but it's more, I don't know. You can dent it, but it's not that bad. It's his recovery capabilities that I think are quite limited. Oh, what have we got here? Don't know whether this is strictly a boxing film, but $1 Million Baby is brilliant, says Spartan Will. Spartan Will, you are absolutely correct. That is a brilliant movie. I've forgotten about that one. Clint Eastwood and what's the girl's name who won the Oscar? Can't remember her name. I know she's won a couple of Oscars. Very underrated actress, even though she's won a couple of Oscars. Some people in movies are big stars and some people are just great actors. And the girl from $1 Million Baby, whose name escapes me, Hilary Swank. There you go. 2 Oscars she's won, deservedly so. Here we go here. Carter had a pretty shit record. Yes, he did. He wasn't the great sort of, what are they trying to say about Carter? That he was, much avoided, and in fact, he was probably past his best at the time when he went to prison. But he did lose quite a few fights. He's known because he flattened Emil Griffith. Was it Emil Griffith in one round when Griffith was the champ and it was a non-title fight? Yeah. Okay. Harlem Eubank is fighting Saturday. He's fighting Friday, I think, mate, if you want to watch it. Haven't heard of the opponent, though. Is he with Boxer still? 0 promotion for the card. Do you know what? I'm sorry, but Harlem Eubank, I've no interest in him. I just find him really dull. I just can't get up for any of his fights. I don't want to sound rude to the guy because anyone who gets in the ring deserves a bit of respect, and I agree with you. I haven't heard of the opponent. Sometimes I sort of think I haven't heard of him, and then when I look at the record, I think, oh yeah, I've seen him. But this guy, I don't know. But Harlem Eubank, he's just very sort of vanilla, isn't he? As a fighter, and if you see him interviewed, but it's on Friday, not Saturday. It's on Channel 5, I think. Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn. Who you got? Asks Mike Adams. Oh, by the way, Rem's correct. Hello, Rem. Harlem is with Wasserman. That's quite correct. Yeah, Channel 5. Wasserman have got the contract. Okay, so Mike Adams says Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn. Who have you got? Ryan Garcia. What can you say? I don't know. The Garcia he was juicing, wasn't he, when he fought Haney? But if he's on it, Garcia, Ben might outpoint him. Difficult one. It's a difficult one, that, because you just don't know who's turning up. You know, Ryan Garcia is a complete enigma. I don't know. I can't judge Garcia. That's a good question. But Ben, just changing the subject slightly, Ben at 147, I doubt whether we get down to 147 and maintain his strength, his physicality, his power, and everything else. So I think 154 is where he's going to go, and that is a minefield. 154 is a very, very dense division in terms of talent. Rem says, so cold today, my toes about to fall off. At least it's your toes and not something else, mate. Okay, no. What have we got here? Hilary Swank, says Mike Adams. You're quite right, mate. Says Joe also gets it. Hilary Swank. I remembered it in the end. What else we got in? Just going through it. Jazzy Jabs. Hello, Jazzy. One of my regulars. Joe, your thoughts on DAZN Ultimate Tier? To me, it's the most blatant con to date in boxing pay models. Right, I agree. For those that don't know, DAZN's Ultimate Tier promises you 12. It's what is it, Jazzy? 24 quid a month, something like that. It promises you 12 pay-per-views, all right, plus everything else. But the thing is, just because you slap a pay-per-view thing on, it might still be garbage. And it promises you at least 12 pay-per-views. So DAZN will have to find 12 pay-per-view cards, 12 in a year, one a month. So all they're going to do is they're going to take something that would normally be, you know, a Saturday Night Sky card, put a pay-per-view thing on it, and now that's, yeah, well, you know, that's a pay-per-view fight. That's one of, you know, so you tick a box. That's one of your 12 pay-per-views. Pay-per-view is supposed to be the exception rather than the rule. You know, it's meant to be a gold standard main attraction, and the undercard full and packed, like the old Don King cards in the 90s, and, you know, 5 world title fights on one card. Some of those cards were astounding, absolutely astounding. It's certainly on a par of the, you know, the early Riyadh cards that we had. But that was meant to be pay-per-view. If DAZN is saying, we'll give you at least 12 pay-per-views, then they're thinking, we haven't got 12 cards that are worthy of pay-per-view. Don't worry, just slap a tag on it and they'll have to take it. No, I do subscribe to DAZN. I will not be subscribing to their Ultimate Tier. For all it's worth, this is Lee Donald. For all it's worth, to anyone interested, Joshua's 11-4 to stop Paul in 2 rounds. Yeah, I think one or 2 rounds, probably the first, but will that fight happen? It's a farce, isn't it, really? There's a shame Usyk didn't vacate a month ago, so the belt be won with Parker Wardley, says Mike Adams. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that is a good point. He got it anyway, but was he stripped or did he give it up? Or did he I suppose it's a case of, was he jumped or was he pushed? Did he jump or was he pushed? Yes, he said he gave up the belt to Usyk, but I think I'm going to take it off him anyway. Joey, Tony Tubbs was done for coke plenty of times. Yes, he was. Never remember him getting a long ban like they're talking about Parker getting. Was coke weaker in the 80s or what? I've never taken it, mate, so I don't know. But yeah, I remember Tubbs getting busted all the time. A lot of them were. They called that the lost generation of heavyweights. Tubbs, Pinkland Thomas, Witherspoon to some extent, Tate, who was the other one? Big guy. I can't remember his name. They'll come to me in a moment. But they were considered to be, you know, a lot of very talented heavyweights. Mike Weaver may have been in the mix as well. And a lot of them just blew it because they were snorting coke or fucking hell, you know, acting the fool. What we got? Tim Zoo's coming back. Says Callum Hayes. Somebody's not sure what he's going to end up getting hurt once he steps up again. Yeah, I wonder whether we've seen the best of, or the last of Tim Zoo, or however you want to phrase it. Very Damaged goods, I think Tim Zoo. He's got it all to prove to me. And to be honest with you, you know, I never really rated him as highly as a lot of people did. I thought he was good, but not this great superstar that they were all talking about. I didn't get that. Rem says, good Pro Box card on Friday, Joe. Thank you. I didn't know that. But those, listen, gentlemen, Pro Box card, free on YouTube. If you're not watching it, you're missing out. Because those fights are 50-50 fights for the most part. Rem will back me on this. Terrific cards, absolutely terrific cards, free on YouTube. And, you know, no really big names, although a couple of people like Angelo Leo, for example, have gone on to win world titles, but they started on Pro Box. And you get good commentary, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. You know, it's just a very professional, free-to-air boxing channel. Tremendous. Pro Box TV. Go and have a look at it. Benny Garth. I'm sorry, Benny. Hold on. This fucking thing's jumping all over the place. Where are we? Where have you gone, Benny? Benny's disappeared. No, he hasn't. I work for an insurance company, and Johnny Nelson came in this week to discuss men's health. I've always thought Johnny talks shit, but having met him, he's actually a top bloke. Isn't that true with a lot of people? You think, oh, you see them on telly, you think, what a tosser, and then you meet them and you think, oh, they're quite nice. Yeah. Rem says, I found out today Vitaly Klitschko didn't go to the 96 Olympics because he failed a PED test. Surprised me. Didn't surprise me, mate. I'd heard things about him. That Klitschko era was oh my God, it was drudgery, wasn't it? I hated that era in heavyweight boxing. I basically stopped watching heavyweight boxing. James Clifford has given me £5. Thank you, sir. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you, Joe, for your consistently great videos and content. I always enjoy listening and getting your views on what's happening, both past and present. Sir, the £5 will go to a good cause, namely me. Thanks a lot, mate. Callum asks, who do you think is the most avoided fighter currently? Bakram Matazalia, for me, for what he did to Zoo, was insane. Yeah, that's a good shout. Matazalia, yeah. In a sense, Kabayel also, because even though he's had 3 terrific wins, because he's had those wins, he's now been pushed to the side. I mean, I know he's got his homecoming fight in Germany against some unbeaten, is it Canadian-based guy? But there's no world champion will give him a shot. He's too dangerous, just too dangerous, especially the body punching, horrendous. Spartan Will, agree about Ben. If he could make 147, I wonder we'd be looking at another Jones Jr. or ironically Eubank Jr. just too drained. Yes, 147 is going to be a struggle. His body, if you look at the second Eubank fight, his body looked like it had settled into middleweight. I know he's not a middleweight and he still looks small, but he looked thicker in the middle. He looked more defined. He didn't look as small as he did the first time, because your body changes and you can't. There are no shortcuts. And I'm not a strength and conditioning trained guy, but I've been around enough fighters to know that you can't really do that. Jump up the weights and maintain your strength. Not jump 2 weights, go down 2 weights. Look at what happened to Jones Jr. again, Ruiz, and then he came down to 175 again, and he wrecked his body basically. It's very, very sad. Excuse me. Who we got here? Thomas Newman. Thomas says, we'll hit -20 out here in winter. Czechoslovakia, -20. When I was in Poland years ago, it was -12 or 15 or something. That was cold enough. Okay, no. There's a place in Russia, I can't remember it, it's in Siberia. The temperature hits like -55 and people live there. There's a town there. When they go to the shops, every apartment block has 2 doors, right? There's like a sort of vestibule between the 2 doors just to try and keep the cold out. And when they go to the shops, it takes them about half hour to get ready because they've got to put all this. They end up looking like Michelin men, and they have to cover their nose or they get frostbite. And they go to the mall, they get in there, they have to take all this shit off because it's so fucking hot. But it's one of those places where if you get a bucket of boiling hot water, and you throw it up in the air, by the time it hits the floor, it's ice. So within a second, it turns to ice, even though it's boiling water. It's that cold. No, thanks. Even I'd put the heating on for that. Rem says DAZN's Alfie Shaman was interviewed and guarantees that Fury versus Joshua, should it happen, be free on DAZN Ultimate. What do you mean free on DAZN Ultimate? It's not free, is it? If you're buying DAZN Ultimate, no bollocks. Nah, that Ultimate tier is a lot of crap. Jazzy Jab says, yes, Joe, £25 a month for 12 pay-per-views, now 2025. DAZN did around 9 pay-per-views, 4 of which I found were good events. How the hell are they going to justify 12? It's crazy to me how people can buy into this. I agree, mate. I agree with you. Alex says, all right, Joe. All right, Alex. Freezing up here in Salford, mate. I hope you're all good. Salford, yeah. Yeah. Manchester way, yeah. It's hit -1 down here. I don't live in London anymore. I live in East Anglia, and it's hit -1. I was out today, and I was wrapped up big time, and it was about 3 degrees. I think that was midday, so it was now out there. Now it's probably fucking minus. Let me check. Let's see if I can find out what it is. What's the bloody temperature out there now? Time to get your winter woolies out. The temperature is 2 degrees. Not quite as cold as I thought it was. Mike says DAZN Ultimate is a complete rip-off. Agree with you, sir. I do agree with you. Your old Dar says basically Frank and Eddie will need so many pay-per-view dates. Every heavyweight fight will be a pay-per-view card. Yeah, this is what they're going to do. You'll get some right old shite being passed off as pay-per-view. And again, I'm a DAZN subscriber. But DAZN, when it was initially floated as a platform, it was supposedly the death of pay-per-view. Now it's the king of pay-per-view. And pay-per-view is just one economic model. You look at what Jake Paul, whenever you think of Jake Paul, forget about whatever you think about. I've got big hands. Forget about Jake Paul, what he is. He is the fact that he is hooked up with Netflix, and you can, if you've got a Netflix subscription, which most people have, probably even I've got it. It only costs me like £6 or £7 a month because I've got the one with the little adverts. You get a few adverts, which is nothing, it's negligible. So even I've got Netflix. I watch the boxing on it free, no pay-per-view. The whole idea that things have to be pay-per-view is bullshit and always has been. There are other economic ways of doing it if you strike deals with the right people, of course. So, who we got here? Spartan Will says Joshua TKO in the 4th. I reckon he carries him for a bit. Maybe. If he tried hard, it's over in 5 seconds. Yes, mate. I agree with you. Thomas Newman, in my opinion, DAZN's strategy has been thrown in disarray in the last couple of years because of the involvement of the Riyadh season. Interesting. Would imagine they thought Saudi would be channeling all shows. Well, yes, that's a good point. Riyadh season coming on. I mean, Turkey does have shares in DAZN. I don't know. I can't remember the figure. I did read that it's not insignificant, but it's still not enough for him to sort of, shall we say, dominate DAZN. Mike Adams, yeah, it's a rip-off, mate. Ultimate tier. Jazzy Jabs, Beterbiev, Bivol, Eubank, Ben1, Usyk, Dubois, Benavidez, Yard. These are the 4 events I have will pay for this year. These are 4 of around 9 pay-per-views in 2025 from DAZN, 12 pay-per-views in 2026. Jazzy, you're preaching to the choir, mate. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not good enough. They won't do it. How are you going to get 12 pay-per-views, 1 a month? Nah. What's this? Home Reckoninoka. Brilliant name. Ryan Garcia is fighting Mario Barrios February 21st. I did read that. Has it been confirmed? I don't know. Conor Ben is fighting the Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez winner. Really? No, that's news to me. Maybe you're right. I wouldn't do that. To go back to 147, you'll need a couple of tune-ups. Your old rumoured 50-50 split. stupid money, but in the modern media-driven world, why are we surprised that we see an influencer in with an active megastar? Yes, mate. Nothing surprises me. Nothing. Not in boxing. Not so much in life. Lee Donnell. Do you give Paddy Donovan a chance against Liam Paro early in his career? But 3 losses in a row on the record will set him back massively. Yeah, Paddy Donovan. That second Crocker fight, he could have had that. That could have gone to him. I think a lot of people thought he won it. I thought it was quite close. He did go on the floor twice, Donovan. Paro. Do you know the styles, when you think about it? I mean, they're not entirely dissimilar, are they? When you think of Paro, when he fought, what's the guy's name? Matthias? Yeah. I lean towards Paro in that one. And also the fact that Donovan, when he was on the floor against Crocker, he was shook. It wasn't a case of there were a couple of flash knockdowns. He looked, and fair play. He got up and he carried on. But Paro, I think, has quite underrated power. I just don't think he uses it. I think he likes to box and soften you up, and, pop away. And yeah, I quite like Paro. I think he's quite underrated even now. Thomas Newman, via DAZN, rather than going into business with WWE, UFC, can't imagine how many times they have flip-flopped between all in subscription and no pay-per-views. They need to start earning their money. Well, you talk about DAZN, yeah. I mean, they were losing money hand over fist, let's be honest. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right. I wouldn't trust a word that comes out of any DAZN sort of publicity missive. I think they're making up as they go along, but they were losing a shit ton of money. And what was said earlier about Riyadh season coming in, I think that, I mean, this is a video in the making, actually. This would be a good subject for a video. I think Riyadh season kind of not saved them, but helped them greatly, because suddenly you had Turkey wanting to put all these fights on, and DAZN were like, well, we'll show them, we'll have our little cut. Yeah. What's your favourite unsolved crime case, Joe? Says Rem, or just an unsolved case in general? Since I was a kid, I've always been fascinated by Jack the Ripper. That's the most fascinating one to me. It will never be solved. Don't believe all this bullshit about, well, they've solved it because of some DNA test on a shawl or something. Absolute bollocks. It will never be solved, but it is the most fascinating one. Yeah, I've read God knows how many books on Jack the Ripper. I love the subject. Jazzy Jabs on Usyk. Do we not think he'll fight Wardley to become 3-time undisputed? And if so, what is bad about this? Yeah, he might well do that. Yeah, he did it with Dubois, didn't he? Give the belt up and then picked it up again. Usyk against Wardley. You're quite right. Yeah. Ben McGrath says, are there any good boxing biographies you would recommend? Biographies? Well, I've read the Nigel Benn one and the Chris Eubank one, and they're okay. They're not brilliant. They're autobiographies, although they're ghost-written. Biographies, I read a very good one a year ago, maybe, on Jimmy Wilde. I can't remember who wrote the fucking thing. Yeah, I mean, if you Google like Jimmy Wilde biography, it will come up. It was released either at the start of this year or the back end of last year. I would recommend that one. That was good. It's not that long a book, but it's got some interesting photographs as well as some interesting facts in it. And I love Jimmy Wilde. I think he's one of the great, British legends, arguably the greatest British fighter of all time. But that's a debate for another time. But there are some good ones. I know there's one on Sonny Liston. It's very good. Oh God, I'm so terrible with names. Thank God for the internet. Let me have a look now. See if I can remember the name of it. I've forgotten the guy's name. I know it's a Sonny Liston biog. Night Train, that's the one. Night Train, The Life of Sonny Liston by Nick Tosches. Nick Tosches. Tosches. That's the one I read. That's really good. Fucking hell, only £3.50. You know, get it, go get it. There's that one. There's one that's coming out. I don't know if it's been released yet. It's by Journeyman. The guy who had 300 fights. And again, I'm going to forget his fucking name. Not Christian Late, the other guy. And he's written his autobiography. Christian Late. Yeah, I can't remember his bloody name. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, biographies. Maybe I'll do a video on boxing books, biographies, autobiographies, maybe, because I've read enough of them and I've got them stacked in a box in the bedroom. So, yeah. Will Fury fancy his chances against Wardley? Says your old Dar. Yeah, yeah. Stars make fights and all that. If he wants it, he's got to want it though, because I'll guarantee Wardley will want it. Yeah, that's yeah. I think he'd, and I wouldn't write off Fury. I don't think Fury looked shot against Usyk. I think he looked like he's in the second fight. He didn't look like he could fight for 3 minutes of every round, which was noticeable. But I don't think he looked shot. Maybe a little 10-rounder before he took on Wardley. I don't know. Yeah, good question. Murtazaliev is fighting Josh Kelly in January, says Thomas Newman. Yes, I did hear that, and I fully expect Murtazaliev to win by knockout. Kelly, I've never been that impressed with him. Lots of flash, lots of dash, but substance-wise, the jury is still out. He has had a couple of good wins, but it's just something at world level, not so much. Not so much. Rem says, Dubois turned down the Frank Sanchez eliminator today, Joe. Frank has now been avoided by 6 people for that eliminator, says Rem. Yes, he was, wasn't he? Yes, you're right, because they all turned him down, wouldn't they? Including Atama. Is it Atama who turned him down as well? Wow. He can't get a fight, can he? Maybe him and Caballel can go at it again with a fit Sanchez, because Sanchez did have a bad knee. He got in the ring with it, so you can't blame anyone else. If you're going to get in that ring, you got to own your behaviour, haven't you? So, but a rematch there, I'm just chewing the fat here. Probably won't happen. What fight would you most like to see in 2026? Probably Inoue versus Nakatani. That'd be a good one. Yeah, I'll go with Inoue versus Nakatani. That's my favourite one, and I think it'll happen as well if they've both got fights. Well, Inoue fights just before Christmas. If they come through it, yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. That was Ben McGrath asking that question. Now we've got Lee Donald. Vitaly blamed that on a leg break, but there's always been an excuse. He was an established kickboxer, then Vladimir took his place instead. Yes, that's right. Vitaly Klitschko, believe it or not, was actually knocked out in a kickboxing match by Pele Reid, the heavyweight from the 90s, he was part of the Ingle gym. And he looked like a kickboxer when he boxed. He did. He looked like he had the very sort of loose language style, but he did hit hard. And then he got exposed by, was it Julius Francis exposed him and knocked him out, I think. And he was never the same. But for a while, Pele Reid, he lived off that. I knocked out Vitaly Klitschko in kickboxing, and he was winning all sorts of domestic level fights. But his career petered out. Thomas Newman, Joshua versus Jake Paul in December, Tyson Fury versus Logan Paul in February, Joshua versus Wardy in Saudi, Fury, Joshua in September. What are you saying there, pay-per-views? That's an interesting one. Yeah. Alex says, Yakuts, you've got it, right? Yes. Coldest city in the world. I think their worst ever winter, from what I read, it got to -75. How can you live? How can you survive for more than 2 minutes in that cold? Usually it's mild. It's like -50 or something. Yeah, Yakuts. It's a very good documentary on that, or a couple of them actually, on YouTube. If you want to watch them, see how people live in that sort of environment. My God. Jazzy Jabs. Ben has packed on lean muscle. He is lean. He doesn't have 13 pounds to lose. Not without completely messing up his muscle mass. Just not happening. Not an ounce of fat on the lad. Yeah. Well, they say boxers need the long muscles, not the. It's not a bodybuilding contest. Duke McKenzie was saying the same thing. He was saying Ben is mistaken if he thinks he's getting out at 147. He's not. It will take him a year and a half, 2 years to adapt his body to that. If he can fit one. If 147 is possible, I mean, losing the weight is one thing, but being fit and healthy and maintaining retaining the strength and the power is an entirely different thing. Rem, extreme cold is better than extreme heat. At least it's easy to prevent being cold with clothes. I completely agree with you. I hate extreme heat because you can't take your skin off, can you? You can't walk down the street, start bollock naked without getting arrested. But if it's cold and it's going to get colder here, you put clothes on. I don't care if it's cold in the room. Well, I do actually, because I've got some damp and some mold in my place that's creeping up, so I need to deal with that. But as long as I'm warm, who gives a fuck? Yeah. What we got here? Okay, now there's loads of questions here. What do you think it cost you, Zoo versus Aaron Pryor? I would pick Pryor to win that. I think he overwhelmed Zoo. Zoo had better skills, but Pryor was just relentless. Pryor was a demon. Rem says, no, Joe, he couldn't guarantee that Fury Joshua would be included in DAZN Ultimate free paper. He couldn't. Ah, okay. Oh, well. All the more reason not to get it then. Jazzy Jabs. I'm seeing a Ukrainian girl and she does nothing but complain how cold it is here in northwest of England. Well, Polish ladies are the same, if you know what I mean. Oh, it's cold. What do you mean it's cold? You're a Polish woman. You're supposed to be able to, wear a bikini and drag a plow around and carry 100 weight of potatoes on your back and all this sort of thing. They can't. It's a myth. Owen Foster, hello all. Out in the sticks, weather's torture, even with the gloves on your hands turned to ice. Yeah, mate. No, I don't envy you. Hang in there, Owen. Owen Foster says, hi, Joe. Hello, Owen. Jazzy Jabs. DAZN, the king of pay-per-view. You're not joking, mate. Owen Foster. Is anyone else even taking AJ Paul seriously? It's a joke. I find it more funny than being angry. I'll believe when I see it. I don't think it will happen, Owen. I really don't. Oh no, he's back. Two shin rants. I am your ancestor, Joe. Timmy Turner. Heed my something I can't read. Rem says, oh no, go away, Timmy. Yeah. We need to exercise him, Rem. Jazzy Jabs. Joe, have you ever noticed how boxers say he's instead of his? It's a small pet peeve of mine. He's instead of his. How do you mean, mate? He's instead of his. Yeah, you'll have to explain that one. Rem. Perro didn't look good in his first 147 fight, rocked multiple times by a non-puncher. Yeah, who did he fight, Rem? Because I saw that. I know it wasn't particularly impressive, but I can't remember the opponent. Owen Foster, this is a completely random fantasy bout. Who would you pick between Sultan Ibragimov and Ruslan Chagayev? Both very similar Russian fighters. Yeah. At their peak, probably Chagayev. Points, I think. What was Jazzy Jabs? When was the last Riyadh event trailer? What happened to the trailers about? Yeah, they were sometimes. Yeah, they were brilliant. They were brilliant trailers. Definitely. We need another. But I think for the big individual fights, they get them on, don't they? When it's just standard cards, and of course we all knew, if we had any sense, that the quality of the cards was going to diminish gradually. They couldn't keep it up with all these incredible cards. They were losing money hand over fist. Retard Finder, brilliant name. None detected. Evening Joe. Evening, Retard Finder. Retard Finder. Great name. Mark Odell. Usyk beats Wardley in his sleep. Yeah, I'd definitely pick Usyk. Rem, who's the most controversial boxer ever? Oh, God, there's so many names. James Butler. Is it Butler, the guy who killed Max Kellerman's brother? Sam Kellerman? I suppose he's up there, isn't he? The most controversial boxer ever. Who was the guy who was involved in the what was the guy's name? Billy, young lad, got the shit beaten out of him because the opponent took the padding out of his gloves. Can't remember the name of the young Irish American lad. That boxer, he'd have to be controversial. Margarito's another one, of course. Excuse me. The Fog Sellers, I like it. Do you think that first defense for Wardy will be Dubois, then the final eliminator Zhang? I forgot about him. In that case, Frank controls WBO over the next 3 years. Hergovich is disposable, so he will go down the harder IBF. Okay. Wardy versus Dubois is certainly a distinct possibility. Zhang Heiser. I haven't seen much of Heiser, but Zhang, no gas tank whatsoever. Rem says, I think Usyk would have a hard time with Wardley's irregular timing, pace and style. I think it would take him a few rounds to work him out, 4 rounds, maybe 5 rounds, and then he'd probably take over. But yeah, I know what you mean. The unorthodoxy of Wardley is something that can't be dismissed. Thomas Newman, Sam Langford, boxing's greatest uncrowned champion. Sam Langford, one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. If you look at his record, he fought from lightweight up to heavyweight. When I say heavyweight, he was really just a super middleweight, but he was beating the crap out of heavyweights. He got a draw with Jack Johnson. Johnson wouldn't fight him for the title. He did hold the coloured version of the heavyweight title, the heavyweight championship, the so-called coloured version. Which actually, if you look at it, probably more legitimate than, in many respects, than the so-called, the real heavyweight belt, because a lot of these black fighters, black heavyweights, were frozen out for a reason. They were too damn good. But Langford, definitely a top 5 all-timer. A lot of people have got him at the very top. When you think of it, when you think of the greatest ever, you think of, who do you think of? You think of Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, Langford, Harry Greb, Benny Leonard, maybe. There's always a few. The top 10, the order you get them in is going to vary depending on your subjectivity. But those fighters are great. And Sam Langford was an astounding champion. He beat Hall of Famers from virtually lightweight up to, I think, heavyweight. You look at his record, astonishing record, absolutely astonishing. Who have we got? Mark Odell. I'm waiting for a book by Daniel Dubois. What colouring book is it? Oh, fuck it all. Yeah, good idea, Mark. You're going to ghostwrite it, mate. Spartan Will. What do you reckon about Inoue versus Loma at 126? Lean towards Inoue on points. Inoue Loma at 126. Yeah, Loma. I'll go for Loma as much as I love Inoue. Yeah. Who have we got here? Pole Pounder, New York. Poi Pounder. Wait, it's bigger. Can I make this bigger? Yes, I can. Poi Pounder, New York. I upgraded to Zone Ultimate and got half credit for my monthly. So now I've got both pay-per-views for $37.97 in the US. Now I'm on the hook for $45 a month. Hope the pay-per-views are good for the rest of the year. Well, mate, I do too. Because I think it'll be very interesting to see the quality of these pay-per-views. Very interesting. And I don't want to sound cynical. Skepticism is wonderful. Cynicism is something altogether different. But I find the whole subject questionable, should we say. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. Thomas Newman, Johnny Graves. Yeah, no, Johnny Graves, yeah. He wrote a book, didn't he? Thomas Newman. But yeah, no, I'm thinking of the guy with 300 fights. What the fuck is his name? From Sheffield or Manchester, something like that. Oh, my God's sake, I hate getting old. Can never remember fuck all. I must have seen him fight about 20 times. It'll come to me in a minute. Jazzy Jabs, Joe, I really don't like to talk about... Oh, fuck. This thing's spinning out of control again. Hold on, Jersey. Let me get you back, mate. I really don't like to talk to Jazzy, by the way. I really don't like to talk about the subject, but do you think Jake Paul is a greater health risk than a journeyman is against a hard-hitting prospect? Yeah, of course. Good journeymen can take care of themselves. They can box, they can fight. Like Christian Lake, who had 300 fights. The guy whose name I can't remember had 300 fights. The guy whose name I can't remember, I mean, I'm kicking myself because I can't fucking remember it. He had 300 fights, but he had about 26 wins. Very few fighters who turn professional have 26 wins. Oh, he had 300 fights and he only won 26 and he had a bunch of draws. But they know how to fight, journeyman. You look at the stoppages, very few stoppages on journeyman record. If you have 100 fights, you might get stopped 4 or 5 times. Dale, what's that, Arrowsmith, is that his name? Dale Arrowsmith. He's only won about 6 fights and he's had about 170 fights. He got stopped in a round last week, I think it was. But that's very rare. Usually he goes the distance. And they have to go the distance because then if you get a 28-day ban, you might lose your money. Thomas Newman, Joshua will fight Warley in February. You think so? Brannon Harries. Just got here. Big up, Joe. Nice one, Brannon. Good to have you here, mate. Tony, what do you think? How long before a Talma gets a shot at a title? Yeah. I still don't like it. I want to see him with more rounds under the belt. I know that sounds boring and conservative, but look at the kid's record. I think the fight with Franklin is worthy. It's a good fight. But who's to say he won't blow him away in 2 or 3 rounds? Getting him the rounds is difficult, very difficult. But you see, once you get there, once you win a title, you got to defend it, and then you get someone. Let's say a Talma wins a belt, and his mandatory becomes Caballel. Can he beat Caballel? Quite possibly. But if he doesn't get him out of there in the early rounds, and he's only ever been 8 rounds once or whatever it is, Caballel is an experienced 2-time EBU champ. Done 12 rounds, piece of piss. Difficult with when you've got a prospect like a Talma. Really is. Loma would beat Inoue, hardly size advantage and skill, says Rem. Yeah, I agree, Rem. I do agree. Inoue lost rounds to a 37-year-old Donaire last time round, don't forget. First time round. Yeah, that was a baptism by fire, wasn't it? But Donaire, let's not forget, is a Hall of Famer. And yeah, but you see, I rate Inoue extremely highly. But against Loma at feather, yeah, he might be a bit small. And Loma was a hell of a fighter when he was at the top of the tree. Kabayel Akoli. At WBC interim, Thomas Newman says Kabayel wins that one by knockout for me. Around March. You reckon? Has that been confirmed? Thomas Newman also says Pele Reid was a Ingle guy, was starching journeyman, getting KO'd by everyone after Francis. Yes, he got done in a round by what was the guy's name? All in Norris, who went on to be WBC Cruiserweight champ. Got done in a round. Oh, what's our friend saying there? Tushin rants. Heed my warnings, great-great-great-grandson. Good film, wasn't it? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Peter Buckley. Thank you, James. Peter Buckley, King of the Journeyman. Thank you, sir. 300 fights. Yes, that's the guy I was trying to think of, whose name I couldn't remember. Amazing. I saw him fight loads of times. And he just knew how to type. He wrote a good biography. I don't know whether it's still available. Do you know who he said in 300 fights, who he picked as being the best fighter he ever fought? Duke McKenzie. And he fought Naz. Did he fight Naz twice, go the distance, and then get controversially stopped on his feet? But he said, no, the one that he liked the most was, the one that gave him the most problems was Duke McKenzie. He said he was just such an incredibly skilled fighter. And went on to win 3 world titles, of course. Right, Rem says, who wins, Joe? Derek Chisora versus best heavyweight journeyman of the 1900s. God. Yeah, put him in with, I don't fucking know. Put him in with, who should we pick? El Murray or someone like that, you know? And because El Murray got stopped a few times. Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting when it's Sam Langford against Chisora, because Sam was only a little guy. But would you pick against him? Chisora was what was Chisora now? 245. I don't know how big he is, but he dwarfs the old timers. They all do. You know, look at someone like a world heavyweight champion like Tommy Burns, who was just a super middleweight. Sam Langford, brilliant fighter, but brilliant fighter, one of the greatest ever, and fought in Britain, by the way. Come over to Britain like a lot of them did in the early days. A lot of these black fighters, they had to go where the money was, had to go where the work was, and some of them ended up here. In fact, Jack Johnson was going to come to Britain to fight, but it was stopped by the Home Secretary because they were scared that he was going to beat the crap out of a white British heavyweight. And guess who the Home Secretary was? I think it was Home Secretary anyway. But the guy who stopped the fight was none other than Winston Churchill. History is a fascinating thing. I love history. Hope you're well, mate, says Jordan Perry. Hello, Jordan. Hope you're well, mate. I got a feeling Yard will time Benavidez onto one as Benavidez throws a combo and I see Yard KO mid-rounds. Interesting. I have to say I've picked against Yard, but he's got a bit of wallop, so yeah, possibly. Dean Walsh, do you remember Herbie Hyde? Of course, 2-time WBO heavyweight champion, really just a cruiserweight. Had some out of the ring problems. He ended up in the nick at one point. I know that because at the moment I'm living in Peterborough for my sins in a previous life, and he was in Peterborough prison. I'll tell you a story actually about Herbie Hyde. I didn't see this, but I used to go into Peterborough prison to sort of, because I used to work with addicts. And I sort their scripts out, so when they came out, they had, you know, their methadone or Subutex or whatever. Herbie Hyde was in the nick, and he got into a disagreement with someone. I don't know what it was about, and this big guy flattened him. Herbie came out of his cell, and the guy just hit him, put him on the floor, and Herbie got up and didn't retaliate. Yeah, that's the story anyway. I didn't see it, but people in the nick were telling me this. But you get a celebrity in the nick, and it's you know, if you get into a row with him, or you can get kudos off that. Who was that guy? I knew a guy. I worked with a guy who was a heroin addict, and he got off the gear eventually, and he got into music. I can't remember which nick he was in, but he hooked up with, what's that guy from N-Dubs? Dappy. He was in the nick, and this bloke that I was key working, when he came out of prison, he said he was into music big time, and Dappy and it was sort of giving him tips and stuff, and it sort of inspired him to give up the junk and start taking his music seriously. I think he became a born again Christian or something like that. Yeah, just a few little jail tales. But yeah, Herbie Hyde was a good fighter. Could hit hard, really hard, really hard. No discipline though. Outside the ring, got into trouble. Red says, do you think it's possible that with going up in weight, that Haney's punch resistance and power go up? I don't know, mate. No. Don't forget, welters, generally speaking, hit harder. I mean, he might be healthier. I take your point with that, but I'm not sure. I don't know about the punch resistance thing. Strength will be more. Power might be more. Punch resistance, no, I don't think so. James Cocker says, here's $1.99. Thank you, James. Very, very kind of you. A couple of quid in my pocket, much needed. Trust me. But yeah, thank you very much. As the great Nick Gurr said, I swallow cum. I swallow. Cheeky. It's the right weather for it, isn't it? Rem says, Paro fought David Papot. Yeah, that's it. David Papot. Yes. Jordan Perry, Haney versus Norman Jr. is the hardest fight to predict for me. Either KO Norman or Haney in a boring UD. The boring UD with Haney, yes, I can see that. But I'm picking Norman by stoppage. 8th, 9th, 10th, that sort of period of the fight. Lee Donald, The Murder of Sonny Liston by Sean Assel is a great read, and autobiographies. Two favourites of mine are Michael Gomez and Martin Murray's. Martin Murray, the heavyweight journeyman. Yeah. What was that called? Because he played bass, didn't he, in a band or something, Martin Murray. That was a good book. I read that. I read that about 30 years ago. A picture on the front is of him holding the bass guitar, wasn't it? Not a boxing pose. Oh, God. Yeah. It's coming back to me now. Martin Murray. Are you talking about Martin Murray, or are you talking about Martin Murray, the middleweight? Because I didn't know the middleweight guy, Martin Murray, the former middleweight, who had about 5 punts at world titles. I didn't know that he had a book out. If he has, I'm going to read it because I ain't read it. Martin, but there was a heavyweight. I think his name was Martin Murray. I might have got that wrong. Maybe I'm getting the names mixed up. This is what you call early dementia. Right, NSDB100. Evening, Joe. Do you think Eubank was injured and not just the weight drain last week? He seemed to be limping as he left the press conference. Well, I don't know, but the weight was a factor. Maybe he was injured. Yeah, maybe he was. You don't know, do you? He'll probably write a book later on and include it in the book. We'll see though. We'll see. What else we got? Chagayev all day. What, over Ibragimov? That's Thomas Newman. Yeah, I would pick Chagayev as well. Sneaky left hook. Yeah, he was good. He wasn't that big, was he, Chagayev? Not in terms of dimensions, but he was a decent fighter. Dean Walsh, lads, who will win, Yard or Benavides? I am picking Benavides by stoppage. Jordan Perry, imagine Nigel Benn versus Benavides at super middle. Who would you have gone with? Well, Benavides is naturally a much bigger man than Ben. Ben was always a small super middleweight. As much as I love Nigel Benn, I mean, the fight with Gerald McClellan is the greatest fight I've ever seen. And certainly that is the greatest achievement, single achievement in a fight I've ever seen from Nigel Benn. Nigel Benn beating Gerald McClellan. I had money on McClellan to win that fight in the first round. And when Ben went through the ropes, I wasn't remotely surprised, and I was counting my money. And for him to get up and do what he did, It's extraordinary. Best fight I've ever seen. So I would never rule out Ben, but Benavidez has the better skills. But then McClellan had far better skills than Ben. He was actually a pretty good boxer. Fantastic body puncher as well, incredible body puncher. Bet against Ben at your peril. But Benavidez, yeah, very good fighter. I'd have probably picked Benavidez over Ben if they'd ever fought. And I love Nigel. Followed his career from start to finish. What's Tushin rants? The world is not real. Timmy Turner guarantees it. I am behind you, Joe. Are you? You know. Been tailgated. Tushin rants. Heed me. All right, mate. No worries. Jazzy jabs. Oh, sorry, Joe. Context needed. Boxers tend to say Joshua does his training in London instead of Joshua does it. Oh, do they say that? Yeah, but sometimes do the other thing. When they mean he's, they write his, like his doing well instead of he's doing well. Have you ever noticed that? Drives me balmy. And is there anyone in the world that knows the difference between your Y-O-U-R and your Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, as in you are? When they say you are feeling okay, they put you're feeling okay instead of you Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Good English lesson, isn't it? Okay, this is what you turn up for. Look and learn, strap yourselves in. Who have we got here? Erigal? 7942. Hi, Joe. Who do you reckon is the best Irish boxer ever? Guessing Katie in the ladies' code, but who in the men's game? I can't remember his fucking name. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going fucking balmy here. This is ridiculous. I'll tell you his name when I look. Hang on. Let me put in Irish boxers. See, this is what I mean. When you get older, you forget names that you've known for 50 years. Fuck, I should know this. I forgot Peter Buckley's name earlier on. That's a miracle. See, my old mum's 87 years old, and she's got a touch of dementia. God bless her. I love it a bit, but I think hanging out with her, I'm catching it. Great Irish boxers. Obviously, Keith Turner. No. Know the name when I see it. The fuck? Oh God. What's his fucking name? Oh, for fuck's sake. Riveting telly, this, isn't it? Eh? Tom Sharkey, no. Dave McCauley, I forgot he's a good fight. Johnny Colwell, no. Non-Pereira, Jack Dempsey, Rinty Monaghan. Yeah, he's a good fighter. Jimmy McClarnin, that's who I was trying to think of. Yeah, he's the greatest Irish boxer ever, in my opinion. Jimmy McClarnin. I need to do a video on him if I haven't already. Very good question, though. The greatest ever. Yeah, greatest ever. For me, the greatest ever male Irish fighter. Oh. Rem says, oh, yeah, Billy Collins and Lewis Resto. Thank you. MD4933 mentioned Lewis Resto. Billy Collins was a retard finder, said, yeah. Yes, those two had that fight where Collins, I think, committed suicide, didn't he? Or they thought he committed suicide afterwards by driving his car. Didn't he drive his car into a ditch or something, kill himself? But Resto had the stuffing taken out of his gloves, which means he was hitting Collins with an open fist, with an unprotected fist. And Collins suffered appalling injuries to the face. You see the famous picture of him with all those swellings. And it was it Lewis, Panama Lewis, wasn't it? Took the stuffing out of Resto's gloves. Resto has been interviewed. There was a documentary about this, and Resto comes across as being just he's got learning difficulties, and the Panama Lewis, was it? What's his fucking name? Trainer. He was the bad guy. Resto was just the patsy, really. Yeah, terrible. 1983. Yeah, you're right, mate. Billy Bob mentions 1983. Jazzy Jabs, big fan of David Benavidez, Joe. What do you think his ceiling is in the sport? Do you think he could make heavyweight in the distant future? No, not heavyweight. Cruiser, maybe. Very good fighter, good skills. I wouldn't put him at anywhere near heavyweight, but yeah. NSDB 100. Joe, have you ever seen the Gerald McClellan documentary, The Fight of Their Lives? Yes, I have seen it. What are your thoughts on Nigel Benn pet accusation? Ben seemed very sheepish, body language way off. Well, Ben, when he was fighting, was the word on the street, as they say, was that Ben liked a bit of naughtiness away from the ring, a little bit of this, that, and the other. He admitted to smoking cigarettes, of course, which is not very good for a boxer. Ecstasy was a big thing, like Ministry of Sound and all that, and he always fought with the Ministry of Sound logo on his shorts. He also knew a few, shall we say, people who were involved in all sorts of extracurricular activities. Was he on PEDs? We'll never know for sure. It's possible, of course, but then, I mean, I know he's supposed to have collapsed afterwards and ended up in hospital. And they said, oh, yeah, he pretended to collapse so he didn't have to take a piss test. Well, no, he'd just been in one of the most brutal, savage fights you're ever likely to see. That's why he collapsed. I wouldn't cast aspersions, but is it possible he was juicing? Of course it is, but we'll never know for certain. But I still think it was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. Well, no, it was the greatest fight I've ever seen, actually. So there we go. Right, what else we got? Let me see if I can find my bloody place again. This thing keeps zipping up and down, this fucking thing. Jazzy Jabs, I feel Benavidez may lose his greatest asset at heavyweight, which is his speed. He's too small, mate, for heavyweight. No. It's not even Opataya. They talk about Opataya, go to heavyweight. I don't think so. Can't all be Usyk. Spartan Will, best heavyweight never to win a full world title. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Povetkin ever became a full world champ. Yes, regular title, but he didn't become a full world champ. Yeah. Are there heavyweights that never won world titles but were good? Well, if you're talking shavers, like the Big Banger, a lot of fighters in the 70s in that era. Not the 60s, thinking about it. I mean, Ernie Terrell was very good. Did he win a proper world title? I mean, even Ken Norton was given the WBC title and never made a successful defense. He's the only heavyweight champion who's never won it, but been given it and never made a successful defense. But that's not a slur against Ken Norton, who was a very, very good fighter. What we got here? Rem says the unluckiest fighter out there is Akhmedov. Has 4 losses that should be all wins, in my opinion, to Barrios, Kenneth Sims, Puello, and Duarte. Have I seen those fights? Okay. I'll have to check that out, Rem. My mind's going blank. I'm sure I've seen at least some of those fights that you mentioned, but I'm not recalling them. Jazzy Jabs, I really like the idea of a Joshua in a 10-round tune-up on the Inoue card in Japan. Yeah, see, that would have been all right. A little 10-round run-around. Get some rust off. Get your feet wet again. That would have been so refreshing and fun for Christmas. Yeah, it would have been. Free as well, not on bloody pay-per-view. Jazzy Jabs, quite refreshing to see the mutual respect between Benavidez and Yard. No BS, although I think Benavidez will beat down Yard. It's nice to see an underdog fighter not acting like a clown. Yes, it is. It is. Thomas Newman, Peter Buckley. Thank you, sir. You're quite right. And that previous comment was from Thomas as well. I am Timmy Turner. Heed my word once more, dear lamb. Thank you, Tushin Ranch. You're consistent, mate. Thomas says, yeah, he fought Naz. Yeah, Peter Buckley, amazing. And like I say, what do you have, 26 wins or something? That's a lot of wins for to have 26 wins in a career if you're just a journeyman. That's not bad at all. The Fog Sellers, what are your top 7 current heavyweights? Usyk, Usyk, Wardley, Caballel, probably Hrgovic, Sanchez. I'll throw in the mix. Top 7. Who am I missing out? Parker Dubois. Off the top of my head, no doubt I've missed someone out, but they'd be in the mix anyway. Rem says the year is 2055 and legend has it Peter Fury is still guaranteeing IFL TV that Hughie Fury hasn't got his man strength yet. Yeah, bless him. Hughie Fury, what a strange career. Strange career. Rem says Warren said a tower will fight for a title in 2026. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Jazzy Jabs, yes, Joe, good points about the Jake Journeyman question. I agree, Journeyman, if nothing else, are expert survivors. That's exactly it, mate. They can fight. Journeyman can fight. Yusuf Al-Hamadi, Journeyman, fought everyone and has a win over Crawler. Yeah, one of the many. One of the many. Jazzy Jabs, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a classic. What a film. Oh, man, I'm putting my central heating on. I can't take this cold anymore. Agree with you about the film. One of my favourites. No heating for me, mate. Bollocks of that. Jazzy Jabs, ever done jury service, Joe? I just did 2 weeks ago and I'm skint with no wages. Did they not pay you? I thought they had to pay you. There's some rule, surely. I've never done it, jury service, but yeah. Okay. Spartan Will, my thinking with the Nue versus Loma is that Loma was a slow starter who, if you hit hard early, became even slower, like in the Tio fight, could find himself 6-0 down, like the Tio fight. Against Inoue, much smaller man than Tio. No, I don't know, mate. I'd pick him, to be honest with you, Will. I'd pick him. I'd pick Loma to win. Rem, what's the biggest upset in the future of boxing you can predict will happen? The biggest upset? Good question. Good question. The biggest upset. Good question. What a good question. The biggest upset for the future. I don't know. I'm going to think about that. That's such a good question. See, I mean, I suppose if, say Inoue was to lose a fight to Nakatani, people go, oh, Inoue's been beaten. But Nakatani's a very good fighter himself. It would still be an upset, and obviously if someone like Usyk was to lose, but I wouldn't predict it. You know what I mean? Or Bud Crawford, if he went down to 160 and got beaten, that people would go, oh, that's a shocker. Yeah, but I wouldn't predict it. I was, that's the thing about upsets. I don't know. But I will say something. If it would not surprise me entirely if a Talma got beaten because they pushed him too quickly, too soon. He just didn't have the rounds. I can see him in there, if he hasn't got the rounds under his belt, in there after 4, 5, 6 rounds, getting slapped around and running out of gas. That would not surprise me. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's feasible. It could happen. That wouldn't surprise me. No. Dean Walsh, Frank Bruno was a great fighter. I don't know about great, but he was good. He was a lot better than people. He only got beaten by world champions, didn't he? And he eventually won a belt himself. Probably underrated. Resume's thin. Lots of very weak opposition on there. But I like Frank. He was a good fighter. Takama Inoue versus Tenshin Nakasawa on Monday, Joe. How do you see that one playing out? Is that on Monday? I think Nashikawa beats him. I don't know how. Whether it's points or stoppage. Takama Inoue, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. Nasukawa. That could be an upset. Yeah. I'll think about that one. Good question. See, the good questions are the ones where you really have to stop and think and you sort of ponder it, see it from different sides. Okay. Anyway, what's this? I can't even pronounce this guy's name. Shining God Blade. I don't know what the fuck this guy's name is. He's got a very strange handle. And no way won't punch as hard at 126 as Tio punches at 135. True. Mr. Pads, Joe, who is the best British fighter to never become champion in your opinion? I always held Harold Graham in high regards. Absolutely Harold Graham. And also I would add into the mix guy with the dreadlocks who beat Roberto Duran. Fucking hell, man. Getting older, man. I tell you what. Fuck. Talk amongst yourselves. Kirkland Lang. I think I'll put him in the mix as well. Definitely. Yeah. Thomas Newman. Herbie Hyde was the Mark Morrison of the boxing industry. Red 6789. What do you think of Johnny Tapia? Yeah. Very, very disturbing backstory. Very disturbing. Ma Vida Loca. Wildlife. Died too young. Into drugs. Bit of domestic abuse flying around. See, if you watch your mother, when you're a child, you watch your mother being hung upside down and stabbed to death, it's going to have an effect on you. You're not going to get rid of that trauma. And Tapia showed it. But in the ring, it was the safest place for him. He fought at the York Hall as well, Johnny Tapia, of all places. But a tragic figure, but a very, very good fighter. Thomas said he's given me what's that Czech Republic money, 150, whatever that is. All the best, Joe. Get that heater on. Thanks, mate. Sorry, but the heater's not coming on. But I do appreciate the money. Thank you very much, sir. I'll buy a new scarf or something. Rem said, sad to see Harold Graham's status nowadays, not doing so well economically. I heard. What a fighter. Yes, I've heard he's. Yeah. Oh, Thomas Newman corrects me. Michael Murray, not Mark. I think yes, was the heavyweight. Fought a load of prospects. What the fuck am I doing? Martin Murray was the middleweight. Michael Murray was the heavyweight from years ago. Michael Murray's biography, if you can get hold of it, is very good because, like I say, he was into music in a big way. The journeyman heavyweight. He fought Herbie Hyde a couple of times. Got stopped, I think, twice. But he was well into music. Bass guitar player. Very. I remember him. Michael Murray. Thank you for correcting me, Thomas. Jordan Perry, Noakes versus Mason will be fight of the night, in my opinion. Yeah, like I say, I think Mason gets him, but I could be wrong. Mason's been on the floor a couple of times. Noakes is a good fighter. Feed me more zones, says Joe Stunner. You better not be Jewish. No, I've got the nose, mate, but no, I'm not, mate. I'm not. Thomas Newman, he didn't vault the ropes. What? Eubank? Dean Walsh, you better not be a Muslim either. I'm an atheist, mate. It's all religion is bollocks to me. Rem, what a weird argument, guys. Respect each other as human beings, says Rem. Yeah. It's all just piss and wind to me. Hawkwin77, evening geese, please tell me AJ ain't fighting that YouTuber in December is true. I'm afraid it is true, my friend. I'm afraid it is true. But such is life. When someone puts 50 million quid on the table, what are you going to do? You ain't going to turn it down, are you? But yeah, you're right. It is a lot of bollocks. Spartan Will can't work out how to reply to someone on this lot. This Shinigod. Shinigod? You may well be right, mate. I reckon pound for pound, Inoue hits harder, but could be wrong. Yeah. Inoue is still my top three. One of my top three fighters at the moment, definitely. Lee Donald, middleweight Martin Murray is the one I was referring to. Yes, Lee, I get you, mate. I got him in. Michael Murray was who I was thinking of. Great story. Was on the run fighting the ABA title. Sinner or Saint is the title. Great read. I'll check that one out. I haven't read that one. Yeah, he did a stint in prison, didn't he? Quite a long stint. He was being a very, very naughty boy indeed. And boxing kind of saved him. And he's not the only one. Jazzy Jabs, the your thing is just an all-out assault on the English language. Yes, it is. I'll let you into a little secret that's not really a secret. I've actually got a degree in English, literature and language, which I picked up when I was in America. And so I'm a bit sort of fascistic when it comes to language. Although having said that, my spelling ain't great. Sometimes I misspell words. It's like remembering names or getting names confused. I think the older you get, the more fucked up your writing becomes. But yeah, I do have an English degree, and that your thing drives me fucking balmy. Anyway, Rem, Joe, is there a boxer you think that you know and has been forgotten by 99% of others? Only in boxing. Rem's asking some good questions, and unfortunately, I'm not able to give him good answers. A boxer that I know, well, a lot of the old timers, you know, like Jimmy McClarnon. I couldn't remember his name, but I think, in my opinion, when someone asked earlier who's the greatest ever Irish fighter, I definitely think he was. And a lot of people don't know him, do they? And there's lots of, this is why I like the boxing history, because you get some real fascinating fighters with incredible records. And now you've got BoxRec. You can go and have a look at the records. It's not it's accurate with the old timers, but I grew up getting books like the British Boxing Border Control Yearbook, and there were, you know, so we would have to read the records, and you know, I spent fucking hours just looking at people's records, who beat who, and all this bollocks. I was kind of almost like autistic about it, but there are lots of fighters who were, shall we say, in the old days, not given a fair crack of the whip. Let me look something up here. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, where were we? Get the big Henry VIII dressing gown on, Joe. The word is no joke. You're right, mate. Oh, it's waiting. Don't you worry about that. That big, and I'll end up looking like a cross between Henry VIII and Nora Batty with the big dressing gown on. I've got one that says Joe Stunner Boxing on it, which was sent to me by Lee of Inside the Distance. Thank you again, Lee, for that. That's a lovely dressing gown. I always wrap that on. Get a hat on, and yeah, it's when your tip of your nose and tips of your ears start getting cold. That's when you think, yeah, it's getting a bit chilly now. That was Alex who was saying about the Henry VIII dressing gown. It's waiting, mate. It's waiting. Irish boxer, non-paro Jack Dempsey. Yeah, he was good. He was good. He's in the top 3, 5, whatever. Dean Walsh, would Rocky Marciano have done well against Mike Tyson? Not in my opinion. He'd have been smashed to bits. Too small, incredibly game. But Tyson at his peak was a fucking savage, absolute savage. Tyson, of course, was only a 215 guy. When you think about it, that's small by today's standards. That's bridgerweight or whatever you want to call it, super cruiserweight. But Marciano was like a 188 guy, 190 maybe. No. Oh, and Joe Frazier was he 205? He wasn't big either. I think Frazier would have beaten Marciano. Certainly Mike Tyson would have cut him to ribbons. Terrible. Jordan Perry, Eubank Senior versus GGG at middleweight. Middleweight was tight for Eubank. I'll pick GGG to win at middleweight. Super middleweight, perhaps Eubank. But I think GGG is a terrific fight. Was a terrific fighter. It's unfortunate he never really had a dance partner apart from Canelo, and you can make a case for him winning 2 of those 3 fights against Canelo, certainly. But he is still a terrific fighter, I think. Red 6789. Wasn't Panama Lewis also responsible for the Aaron Pryor bottle scandal versus Arguello? Yes, he was. For those that don't know, Aaron Pryor versus Alexis Arguello, the first fight. The second fight is brilliant. The first fight is off the chart brilliant. It's an astounding fight. Go and watch it. And the engine on Pryor was unbelievable. And there was a controversial bit where Panama Lewis, who was in Pryor's corner, said, "Give me the bottle," meaning the drink, the water. "No, give me the one I prepared earlier," is what he said. And people think that there was something in it to pep Pryor up, which there may well have been. But that first fight is astounding fight. One of my top 5 fights of all time. Rem says it was funny to see a few weeks ago a journeyman actually try and manage to beat a prospect as he disrespected him in the weigh-in. They probably can beat most prospects if they want to. Very good point. Yeah, these journeymen, they say, if they get someone cheeky, then they'll teach them a few lessons. And also, the board very often say to a journeyman, "Look, you've lost 20 in a row. You need a win now." Yeah, no problem. So they go out and beat someone. A lot, the Peter Buckleys, Christian Lates. I watched Christian Late. Maybe I saw live a lot of the time. I saw his last maybe 6 fights when he got to 300. He barely threw a punch. I'm not joking. He just wandered. He tucked up. He walked around the ring. Maybe the occasional jab. Quite content to just go distance, lose, get his money, and fuck off. But if you put them in there, these fighters, they'll win. I mean, they'll win. Like there used to be a guy called Brett Fido who he fought from flyweight to featherweight, maybe a journeyman. He when he was on it, he could win. He was a good little fighter. I think he fought for an English title at one point. But he could really fight. And a lot of these journeymen can. They just don't try to win because they know that, they won't get asked back. The phone stops ringing if they win. Rob Taff, is Lloyd Hunnigan underrated? Not in Britain. In America, perhaps. When you think about it, well, he won the belts off Curry, which was a huge achievement. And then he defended against Johnny Bumpus, who was basically a cokehead. Stopped him in 2 rounds. And Gene Hatcher, he bombed out in 45 seconds. Where was that? I want to say that was in Europe. It's Spain or somewhere, wasn't it? Monte Carlo? I could be wrong. But he was beaten. He knocked out a couple of 140 pound champs who had seen better days. Then he lost to Vaca. Then he beat Vaca in the rematch. I'll tell you, in my opinion, apart from the Curry win, Hunnigan's best win is over Morris Blocker. who he's an underrated champion. Morris Blocker, very, very good welterweight champ. And he was undefeated. Tall, gangly guy. He gave Hunnigan plenty to think about, and Hunnigan beat him. I think Hunnigan deserved the win. But Blocker went after that, went on to win, I think it was the IBF welterweight title, and defended it a load of times before losing to Simon Brown in the unification. They were good friends, Simon Brown and Morris Blocker. And then he moved up. I think he got Terry Norris blasted him out in a couple of rounds. But he was a good fighter, Morris Blocker. And that's a very good win for Hunnigan. Very good win. Is he underrated? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. Depends what you call underrated, I suppose. Rob Staff, I'm 50. I've never been in trouble, not caught, but never asked to do any jury service. Why? Because you're lucky, mate. Like me, I've never done jury service. Jazzy Jabs, you have to claim your wages back from jury service, Joe. Real ball ache. It's been an interesting experience aside from the money, though. Well, if you're out of pocket, that seems very unfair. Claim it back, mate. I would. Okay. If you're telling me that it's compulsory, I've got to do it, but you ain't giving me my money, I wouldn't be happy about that. Jazzy Jabs, Yard beating Benavidez would be a huge upset. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. Rem, speaking of jury service, Joe, have you watched the classic film 5 Angry Men? If you haven't watched it, 1957. Do you mean 12? Is it 5 Angry Men or 12 Angry Men? Or am I getting my film names mixed up as well as the fucking boxer names? 57 version, immediately. Incredible film. Yeah, I'll have a look, mate. I'll have a look. 5 Angry Men. Rob Stuff, Atama gassing out against Franklin. Franklin looked dreadful in his last fight, but plenty of notice this time. Yeah, Franklin lost that fight, in my opinion. His last fight. And Atama, I expect Atama to beat him. The question is, can he stop him? I think he can stop him. But when is the question? I don't know. But if he gives him rounds, that's what he's there for, Franklin. Thomas Newman, I think Yard has been on a massive decline since his defeat to Beterbiev, 2 knockdowns, then struggled against Vilkans. Yes, he did. Underwhelming against Arthur. I think this one goes early, within 5. I think Yard gets stopped. 5, I don't know. I think I said 8 or something, but maybe so. Jazzy Jabs, I personally would say that Atama has been handled badly now at this point. Warren has handled him badly. Yeah, but the question is, who do you give him? Who would you give him to take him rounds? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah, difficult one. I mean, the kid ends fights early, which is incredible, but it's the way it goes, you know. I don't know. Mike Tyson had the same problem. Then they got him Tillis, and who some people thought edged that fight. Then they got him Mitch Blood Green, who, you know, big hug fest that was. But at least he was asking questions. At least he had questions asked of him, Tyson, before he fought Berbick. There were a couple of 10-rounders. Atama needs that before he jumps into the deep end, in my opinion. There we go. Atama got frustrated against that Ukrainian journeyman that beat Matty Harris. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Derevchenko. No, not Derevchenko. Yeah, he's got one of those multi-syllable names. Yeah, I know the guy. I mean, never been stopped. He's got about 16 defeats on his record. He's never been stopped. Not saying Franklin is the man to take advantage, but Jarrell Miller might do. Jarrell Miller against Atama. Interesting fight. That's interesting. Yeah. Yes. I like that fight. Good shout. Jazzy Jabs, Queensbury should push Wardley and grow Atama. Instead, they're trying to push Atama too much. Pay-per-views, what the fuck? 2 fights in 2025. Yeah. I mean, Jazzy, I'll take your point about growing Atama, but again, I get back to the who's going to give him rounds. I think he needs to be more active, even if he is knocking over people, you know, like in 2 rounds. Because when Mike Tyson was coming through, he was extremely active. I mean, he had 32 fights when he won the title, whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had that rhythm going. He had that momentum. There's a lot to be said for that. Atama seems to have lost that a bit. Rem, I think Atama has been promoted very, very well. He is known as a big prospect name in America, etc., even in Japanese boxing forums, which I'm able to read since I know. You know Japanese? Okay. Cool. Who do you think's, yeah, no, I was going to say something, but I won't bother. Well, he's been promoted very well in a hype sense. I agree with you there, Rem, but bringing him on is difficult. As I was saying to Jazzy, I mean, that's, yeah. What do you think about it could have gone either way concept? I think this is bullshit. It can win for one side, or if the fight's that close, it can be a draw, but either way is impossible. The fog sellers. I don't know, mate. I mean, no. I think you can have a fight where some people think one guy won, other people think the other guy won. Very close fights. And you got three. That's why you got three judges. Difference of opinion. You get split decisions, majority decisions. No, I think you can have fights which you can say, well, that could have gone to either man. It depends on your subjectivity. If it's a genuinely close fight, the subjectivity is worthy. But of course, we see too many bad decisions, and boxing scoring is subjective. Yeah, but not if one guy's winning the fucking fight and the other guy isn't. There's got to be some criteria there behind your or some logic behind your scoring. Yeah, you know what I mean. All right. Thomas Newman, yeah, Kirkland Lang. I got there in the end, Thomas. Eventually. What else we got? Paul Anthony, Kirkland Lang. You seen the documentary on Kirkland Lang that Steve Bunce did? It's only about 15, 20 minutes long. It's very, very powerful. He finds Kirkland on some estate drinking booze and talks to him. The man that beat Roberto Duran, and good fighter. Sad business, Kirkland. Rem, Joe, you say you say you have a bad memory, but I'm much younger and can't remember half of the facts you do. Well, Rem, there is the argument that, you wait a minute, what's the joke? The young, where the young person says to the older person, well, of course you're good at history. When you were young, there was less of it. Yeah. Oh my God. Rob Staff. I remember watching Horace Notice versus Michael Murray. Did he fight Michael Murray, Horace Notice? Wow. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought Horace Notice was around before Michael Murray. I'll take your word for it. I didn't know. Jazzy Jabs, R.I.P. Manny, yes, of Stone Roses and Primal Scream, bassist. Passed away today, 63, I think he was, Manny. Rest in peace indeed. Thomas Newman, when Noakes sparred Shakur, he said he couldn't lay a glove on him. Although Mason isn't Shakur, I feel it's going to end the same way. Yeah, I do. Noakes getting caught with walking in over within 5 or 6. Yeah. I think he stops him, Thomas. I do. Johnny the Frog. Joe's memory seems very good to me. Thank you, Johnny. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Rem says, it's begun to strike me how quick time passes. I really need to value my youth more and not take it for granted. Rem, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Leave your age in the comments. I always like speaking to younger people because I like to think, what was I doing at that age? Yeah. Oh, have we got here? Stephen Body, Teddy Atlas swimming against the tide, going for Haney on points. I can see at least one of the 4 fights on Saturday is a draw. Quite possibly. And I can see a Haney points win. I think Atlas, it's not an outrageous call. Jazzy Jabs, you got an English degree in America. Do you call jam jello, Joe? Do I call jelly jello? No, I don't. But I'll tell you a funny thing. When I started doing my English degree in America, I said to the tutor, Are you going to take points off for English spellings like honour, spelling it with a U, or theatre, spelling it theatre or theatre? Which the reason in English, the reason we have these funny spellings, like we put a U in honour, or theatre is spelt RE at the end instead of ER, is because that's the French influence on our language. We were conquered by 1066, Battle of Hastings and all that. Yeah. So I said to the lady, "You're going to take points off for English spellings?" And she said, "No." God bless her. Mrs. Thames, her name was. I was in my 30s when I got my degree, by the way. It's never too late. Alex B, just want to say, Joe, I appreciate you and your work greatly. A proper boxing fans channel. You've worked really hard and given us a lot of great content over the years. Alex, that means a lot, mate. Thank you very much for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. It's great fun doing it. It's great fun talking to you guys as well. Red says, what do you think of Paul Spadafora? Well, famously, he stood Mayweather on his head, supposedly in sparring. There is footage of that sparring, I think. I've seen it. Spadafora kind of went off the rails a bit, didn't he? Didn't he shoot his wife during an argument or something like that, and was up in court for attempted murder, but he got away with it? Or I know he had he had a lot of drink problem as well. But if I'm right, I think I'm right in saying that he only had one defeat on his record, a ton of wins, and he was a world champ. He held the IBF, is it lightweight? IBF lightweight title. Yeah. Rob Staff, Welsh fighters. Freddie Welsh is the one who gets forgotten. Yeah, Freddie Welsh. Yeah. Everyone goes for, Jimmy Wild, of course, but Freddie Welsh is in the mix. No question, mate. No question. Spartan Will, what do you think about Benavidez versus Zerdo at Cruiser? Well, Zerdo's a brick wall, isn't he? Fucking put a dent in him, it's hard. Benavidez, better skills, slicker. If Benavidez settles into cruiserweight, if he has a couple of 10-round tune-ups and was then to fight Zerdo, I think the skills might pay the bills. He might get a decision. But Zerdo's a big fucker, isn't he? You look at what he did to Chris Billam-Smith, and Billam-Smith's got big bollocks. Tough guy. Rem says, Joe, Subriel Mateus has just received, he's just failed a test for, really? Why don't these things surprise me anymore? Because Mateus was one of those, he was the guy who everyone was quitting when they fought him. And then he ran into Paro and got outboxed. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me anymore, Rem. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Jazzy Jabs, on the topic of English literature annoyances, literally every British woman I have ever dated types mom instead of mum, and it really pisses me off. Some even say diapers instead of nappies. You're right, mate. Yeah. I have a Polish girlfriend, and she says she has written mom instead of mum. It simply won't do. Jake Jansen, 6624. Big up, Joe. Why should Usyk have to fight Wardley? He's fought 11 world champions, whilst Wardley has beat Parker and Clark. Do me a favour. Yeah, Jake, I mean, don't ask me to explain the logic behind rankings and mandatories and all that, because there probably isn't any. Yeah, but you're right. Rem says, because he was the mandatory, has beat number one contender, interim champ Parker. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But to pick up on Jake's overall point, I think it is fucking outrageous sometimes that people get stripped because of some unnecessary or unwarranted mandatory. I do agree with you, Rem, that, yeah, okay, Wardley beat Parker. No argument there at all. So, but mandatory, Caballel, anyone? Jazzy Jabs, breaking news. Subrel Mateus has shown adverse findings. Yeah, you're right, mate. Rem just mentioned that. Well, it's VADA testing, is it? Putting the January Dalton Smith fight in jeopardy. If I was Dalton Smith, I'd say, piss off. I'm not fighting you. You've just failed a test. I don't give a fuck about the money. Give me someone else. And if there was any justice, and of course there rarely is, there often isn't, the sanctioning body and the commission would support Smith. Rem says Puello versus Dalton for the vacant title is now my guess. Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Spartan Will gives me £9.99. God bless you, sir. Just worked out how to do this. Big fan for ages and the only channel I comment on. Great community. Thank you, Will. I really appreciate that, mate. 10 quid. Very much. I'll let you into a little secret, right? And I'm not begging for sympathy or nothing. I'm just a fact. My job, the funding runs out at the end of April. So me and my colleague, God bless her, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Great colleague of mine. We're going to be unemployed at the end of February. So fucking hell. Welcome to 2026. I better look for a job after Christmas and all. Never mind now. Johnny the Frog. Good title. There'll be no stopping you now, Spartan Will. Yeah. 12 Angry Men. I thought it was 12, Rem. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that film. Very good film. Very, very good film. Yeah. 12 Angry Men, says Jazzy Jabs. Yeah. Johnny the Frog, you will be exempt from jury service if you have a criminal record. Just saying. I don't have a criminal record, although let's put it this way: the intent of doing illegal things is to get away with it. I remember when I worked in hostels, in homeless hostels, and I'd meet these kids, and they were like youngsters. I say youngsters, maybe some of them were 24, 26, something like 28 at the most. And they go, yeah, I've been in prison 8 times, you know. I said, well, for, burglary or whatever. I'd say, well, if you were employed as a criminal, you'd have been sacked because you're shit at it. Because the whole purpose of doing naughty things is to fucking get away with it, you tit. And they would say, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. You're not meant to go to fucking prison. If you're a criminal, you're meant to get away with it. Okay, no. Oh, state of the young today. Give him a leg to stand on. They used to kick him up the arse. Rob Stuff says, Mike Tyson fought 12 fights in a year. Yes, he did. Atama is fighting 2. Can't be paying that much. Send the kid around and invest. I couldn't agree more with you, Rob. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Rob Stuff. Warren did similar with Dubois. Well, yeah, Dubois did fight a bit. He's fighting more than Atama anyway. And Dubois at the start looked like a killer as well. He got found out a bit psychologically, but this is it. I mean, for me, and I rate Atama, I honestly do rate him, but the jury is still out and on many, many factors here. And you cannot overlook it. You simply can't overlook it. Jake Jensen, 66-24. Besides Fury beating Vlad and Wilder, very good wins, but White is only top 10 win. Who else after that? Hamer, Chisora, Wallin, 17-year pro career. That's shit. Yeah, entirely agree. His 2 wins. The Wilder, the first, well, it was a draw, wasn't it? But really, we know he beat him. The Wilder wins are valid. People say, oh, Wilder was always shit. No, he wasn't. He was a one-trick pony, but it was a hell of a trick, as Paulie Malignaggi said. And he was beating everyone put in front of him, even though he was, he wasn't fighting everyone. He was beating everyone who was put in front of him. He was knocking them out. So for Fury to come back after the Vlad win, which was a very good win in Dusseldorf, which deserves a lot of credit, for him to beat Wilder, to knock Wilder out twice, they were very, very good wins, very good wins. But as Jake says, and I agree with him, the overall resume is thin, very thin. So yeah. Fury and Wilder terrible. Do you mean their records? Because if so, I agree with you, mate. Very thin. I mean, Wilder's record is so anemic. Jazzy Jab says, Joe, watched a few Chris Bird interviews at work this week. What a genuinely good fella. Very interesting career he had. Hard-working boxer. Yes. Well, heavyweight. He was a cruiser. He went up to heavyweight, and he was never really a heavyweight. And he won the IBF belt, didn't he? Did he win 2 belts? And I mean, he got stopped by Abiyabuchi, which is no shame in that, because Abiyabuchi was a killer, but almost literally a killer. But he came back well. I mean, he stopped Vitali on a shoulder injury, didn't he? Yeah, Chris Bird was good. A very, very interesting point, though. Right at the end of his career, he boiled himself all the way down to light heavyweight and got knocked out. Another example of a guy boiling himself down too much and then finding out the hard way that, looking good, looking slick and healthy. If you're not slick and healthy, if it's just cosmetic, it doesn't work. You can boil your body down too much, and all the strength goes, all the stamina goes, and that's what happened to Chris Bird eventually. Jazzy Jabs, I'm not sure the Yanks call jam, jello, Joe, peanut. No, it's what do they call that stuff? Jello in America is jelly, like the rubber shit. I never liked jelly. Jello, that's jello. What do they call jam? Call it jam? I never ate that shit when I was over there. Is it peanut and jello? Oh, I don't fucking know. Correct me if you're an American. Correct us, save us. Rem, what are your favorite type of videos to make? Oh, I think the historical ones interest me the most. I think those are fun because I actually have to do a little bit of research. It's not just a case of watching a fight and then 5 minutes later I'm commenting on it. And sometimes I get the books out and it's nice to go through the old books. Pages are getting a bit yellow, but that's fun, because I read, like, say I'm doing a video on a historical fighter, I'll read it and I'll go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh yeah, he beat him. So it's kind of like a refresher course almost. I think they're the most fun. But I love doing the videos anyway. It's always a good laugh. It's a good laugh. Rob Stuff, my apologies. I've mixed up Huroy, Curry, and Murray. Oh yes, yeah. I thought they were different. They were different eras, weren't they? Yeah. Huroy was in the 80s, wasn't he? And Michael Murray was he the 90s, early 90s? Rem says, and if you had to make videos on topics other than boxing and music, what would they be on? Probably politics, social issues. That's what interests me the most. I've actually toyed with the idea of starting a sort of social issues political channel, but then I thought I just can't be asked. But I'm a lazy sod, really. Jazzy Jabs, they call jam jelly. That's it, jelly. You're right, mate. Yeah, PP and J. PB and J, peanut butter and jelly, not PP. That's something else. PB and J. Yeah, I never ate that. Oh, sounds fucking revolting. Yorkie Mike, hello Yorkie Mike. Echo Alex's comments. Your channel is criminally undersubscribed. Sensible opinions and no clickbait. Refreshing, quite frankly. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you. Johnny the Frog. The Americans are a strange lot. He's saying that, Jazzy Jabs. Yes, mate. Yeah. I don't want to be too rude because I met a lot of great Americans when I lived over there. They were terrific. I lived in the South. I lived in Alabama, but I did travel a little bit with my ex-wife who was American. Still good friends with her, but yeah, I think. You see, the current political climate, and I don't want to get too political because I know this is a boxing channel, but the current political climate with that huge division, both sides, I think, have more than their fair share of imbecility going on here. I could see that coming when I lived over there 25 years ago. I moved there in 1998 into America. I could see what we now see coming, this sort of, and I think it's been accentuated by the advent of the internet, which gives any cretin with a foghorn a chance to sort of spout their bollocks. And things like Twitter or X, whatever the fuck that freak Musk calls it, which is just a sewer. It's a platform for all sorts of degeneracy. It's just garbage. I could see the dumbing down of politics in America, which paved the way for, on the one hand, you know, the Trumpism, MAGA, whatever you want to call it, which is just, to me, is just garbage. And on the other hand, you've got, you know, they're supposed to be the left, but of course they're not the left. There's nothing left wing about Joe Biden, unless you want to compare him to fucking Donald Trump. This alt-right thing and this feeble, wishy-washy liberal thing on the other side, I could see that coming 25 years ago when I lived over there. And it's a shame. It's a shame, because I met lots of great Americans and they deserve more. But politics in this country, there's the party politics and there's real politics. In America, it's even worse. Politics has nothing to do with the American people. And the fact that so many of them voted for both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, two people who were never going to do anything for them ever, they really have been conned en masse. I mean, there's, like I say, there's party politics, which is almost like its own little bubble, and then there's real politics, which is what the rest of us live. How much is a pint of milk? How do I pay my energy bill? How do I find an NHS dentist? How do I get a GP appointment? That's real politics. And the people, whether it's Starmer or Johnson or Rishi Sunak or whatever, they have nothing to do with the real world, the political real world. And in America, it's even worse because, of course, you know, the billionaire class are seen as being some sort of oracle, you know, purveyor of wisdom, and they're going to save us all because they're billionaires. How in the name of God can a billionaire have any idea what it's like to worry about money? Nah. So to answer your question, Rem, earlier on, probably politics and social issues would be a channel I would do. Jazzy Jabs, Tesco's boosting record profits yet driving prices of essential foods up. There you go. Jazzy's just knocked it on the head. That's real politics for you. How is this allowed, Joe? Where are trading standards? Well, yeah, again, mate, I mean, I agree with you. We could go into this until, you know, for as long as I've got hold of my arse, politicians are not going to, or should we say, politicians who have come from wealthy backgrounds, whether it's Sunak and his missus with untold millions, or whether it's a knight of the realm leading what used to be the Labour Party and is now just a facsimile of it, they don't give a fuck about you. Well, even if they did give a fuck about you, how can they understand what you're going through? How can they understand what it's like? I've got a fucking mortgage, right? I'm going to lose my job at the end of April. Well, I'm going to have to find another job because the money runs out, the funding runs out for my job, so I'm out of a job. I've still got to pay my fucking mortgage. How can someone who's a billionaire possibly understand the psychological or the mental or the practical, the pragmatic side of having to do that? It's just, yeah. Inside the Distance says, smash the like, lads. Thank you, Lee. Good to see you, mate. Always great to have Lee on the channel. Thank you, sir. Can you think of a... Oh, hang on. It's spinning around again. Bloody thing. Bear with me. I'll get it back. Rem says, I really want to live in Antarctica. You're braver than I am, Rem. What is that? Minus 55. Just as an aside, another really interesting thing to read about is Scott of the Antarctic. I love those things. And if you read his diaries, because his diaries were found, they all died, you know, him and his 4 colleagues died trying to get to the North Pole. South Pole, right? Yeah. And they were beaten by Amundsen and Norwegian lot, and they died on the way back, Scott did, but he kept the diary. Fascinating stuff, because he knew they were finished. He knew they weren't going to make it. They run out of food, and they all had frostbite because it was like -50, and they were having to walk, fucking 800 miles or whatever it was. Took a month, and they all ended up dying. But very interesting to read. Johnny the Frog says Antarctica is quite nice this time of year, apparently. Yeah, take your thermal underwear. Reece Jones 5006. Who do you think Wardley's first defence will be against? Could be Dubois. Could be. Dubois makes a miraculous recovery and from his injury and whatever it is. Rem says, I quit my call centre job recently and feel alive again. Never again. Horrendous work, mate. Call centre. Horrendous. It's like the Russian front of agency work. I never did call. I worked for agencies when I was a kid, when I was sort of late teens, early 20s. Yeah, terrible work. I almost did a call centre job when I lived in America, but then I ended up coming back to England, so I fucking quit. Jazzy Jabs, Austrian Matthias had in his system. Yeah, apparently so. Reece Jones, I reckon Chisora, then a big one late summer. Chisora for who? What? Defence for Wardley? Chisora versus Atalma? Nah, forget it. Don't want to kill the man, do we? Alex B292 met Fraser Clark last Friday. You said this, Alex. Yeah, I remember you saying this. In Manchester, Eric Cantona evening with Gentle Giant. Really nice guy, real man mountain, hands like a grizzly bear's paw, massive. Yeah. That's why it's called Big Phrase. But then when you think that he got smashed up by Wardley, shows you how dangerous Wardley is, doesn't it? Johnny the Fire Guy, I guess that means that jelly babies are known as Jello babies. Do they have them in? Do they have jelly babies in America? I can't remember. I know my ex-wife, an American, always used to take the piss out of me because I once referred to sweets as confectionery. She was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, confectionery?" And she just took the piss. She always took the piss out of the way I talked. Americans, eh? Who'd have them? Rem, Americans take life and politics way too seriously to a scary degree. I don't even know who the current Prime Minister is. God, I wish I didn't know who the current Prime Minister was, Rem. You lucky so-and-so. Where are you? This thing's spinning again. Bloody thing. Politics is very confusing to me, says Rem. Well, probably, Rem, it's meant to be. You're not meant to understand it, mate. Look in your wallet. Look at your rent. Look at your bills. That is real politics. And then work out, think, why is there a big ball of fire in the sky called the sun, and yet I have to pay through the nose for my heating? When you've got this gargantuan, unimaginably powerful, source of energy that could be harnessed for all of us. But no, it has to be, channeled into the never-ending wheel of capitalism. We have to make money out of this thing. No, it's not necessary, but they tell us it is. What we got? Russell Newton, my friend has just gone back to Portland, Oregon. She says it's horrendous. In America, really? What, the political, social issues? My ex-wife lives in Philadelphia, as I was saying earlier. And there was an area there called Kensington in Philly, which I don't know if he's still watching, the gentleman from Philadelphia who was on earlier. He'll know this. Kensington is this like Wild West area full of drugs. You wouldn't believe it is. Junkies everywhere. Homeless people, stacks of needles on the floor. You go and watch it on YouTube. Kensington in Philadelphia. Fucking hell. It's like junkie hell. Oh, it's horrendous. Yeah. And when I was in Philly, I went to Baltimore as well. If you've ever watched The Wire, which is one of the best TV shows ever, HBO show, I think it was, it ran for about 4 or 5 seasons. That's set in Baltimore, and that's about the drug dealing and the gangs and it's the police versus the drug guys. But I've been to Baltimore. I actually liked Baltimore. Apparently, it's like one of the gun capitals of America. I thought the gun capital of America was America, but apparently there's a lot of gun violence, a lot of drugs. But I went there twice. I quite liked it. Maybe I fortunately didn't go down the wrong alleyways. Johnny the Frog. Joe has a great understanding of many subjects. Very impressive. Thank you, Johnny. Not really. I just think about things and read. Anyone can do it. Rem says, looking back at school, I was right. I've never once used anything I learned in high school, maths or English, science in my daily life. Well, you know, I English certainly, because I think communication is important. I think people get a wrong idea about English, about language. Really, language is obviously it's communication. So language for me, like when I learned English, it was in order for me to express what was in here. Do you know what I mean? Whether it was written down or said out loud. And when I've worked an awful lot with addicts, right, and people with mental health issues, trauma, and so on. That's the sort of work I've done for the last 20-something years. And the two biggest tools that you can have for recovery are writing things down and saying things out loud. And if you have a good vocabulary, if you have a good communication skills, that's a hell of a weapon to have. I mean, why do kids scream and cry when they're distressed? Because they can't speak, right? And adults can do that. Oh my God! But if you have control of communication, then you can speak, use words. You can use the written word or the spoken word. Some people do it through art therapy. For me, it was any issues that I had, I would channel through music and lyrics. That was great. Some people draw; they draw really lovely things, and so but that expression is vital. So I think language is a very powerful tool to have. I think, did you mention history, Rem? Or I don't know about science, because I was never science. I'm very impressed by scientists, and I don't doubt that the subject's fascinating. I was just never very good at it. I don't know why. Like physics, chemistry, I struggle so badly. Maybe my mind just doesn't work. Like maths, I mean, I was okay at maths, but not great at all. I wasn't particularly good. But the humanities, history, for example, you can learn so much from history. It's really fascinating if you dig into it. It really is. But a lot of people think history is just a load of fucking dates. It's not. It's not. There's more to it than that. You know what I mean? What do we got? What else we got? Johnny the Frog. Joe can also play a Gretsch guitar in the style of Brian Setzer. Brian Setzer, Johnny, is my favourite guitarist, and I do own 4 Gretsch guitars, right, including a Brian Setzer. It was a 6120. If only I could play 10% as well as Brian Setzer. My guitar skills compared to him are perfunctory, if that. He is an unbelievably good guitar player. He plays with, a mixture of power and dexterity. Fantastic guitar player. It's very difficult to play with those, with that sense of power, but also you're very subtle and the precision is there. I certainly can't do it. I mean, I'm just a guy who I can play guitar and I can hang in there. I can, hang in there in a rhythm sense. It's like I went to a gig last Friday, a rock and roll band, sort of punk and roll band called His Lordship. If you've never seen them, they are absolutely fantastic live. And James Wellborn, who I think he's played in the Pretenders, and him and his wife had a duo called the Rails, I think they were called. But he's a hell of a guitar player as well. Rock and roll guitar player, hell of a fucking guitar player. James Wellborn, go Google him, His Lordship. Great bit of rock and roll punk for you there. Jazzy Jabs. Where is the outrage at grocery and energy prices, Joe? No one expresses jack shit about essential issues anymore. Drives me mad. Completely agree with you, Jazzy. Who gives a fuck about painting roundabouts or hanging up flags? It's a lot of bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't achieve anything. People should be out in the streets saying to these energy companies, what the fuck are you charging that amount for me to survive, not to die of hypothermia? That's what people should be saying. Why the fuck are the grocery prices going through the roof? I mean, I know why, because but I won't go into it. But that's what people should be mad about. You're not putting up fucking dinghies in the English Channel. I mean, all right, that's a subject that needs addressing. Don't get me wrong. Illegal immigration, I get it. It's an issue. I don't deny it. You know, Islamic extremism, another issue. Again, I don't deny it's there. But if you want Britain to be great, and Britain in the sense of the people, because the country is the people itself. If you want them to be great Britons, then they're going to need some sort of power, some sort of control. And at the moment, they have none. It's just a case of every 4 years, tick your little box, be a good little guy, go to the polling station, tick your little box, and then fuck off for 4 years. And we'll do the rest. Yeah, of course you will. Rem says, to update you on my guitar progress from the last live, Joe, I quit out of frustration because my fingers felt too short to reach certain chords. No, you quit too soon, Rem. Rem, I'm telling you now, the pain you feel that's inevitable. That's unavoidable. You will go through it for the first couple of months. But if you persevere, the muscles in your fingers will get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's like if you're in bed for 6 months and you get out and try to walk, you won't be able to walk because your muscles will be weak. You'll be falling over. Because you're using, when you play guitar or many other instruments, you're using muscles in your fingers which you've never used before. So they need to get strong. So go back to your guitar and pick it up again. And I guarantee if you persevere, if you really want to play and you persevere, you'll get there. I agree with you. Some chords are very difficult, but perhaps you were trying to do the difficult ones before you did the easy ones. Do the easy ones first. Joe, would you live in a padded room for a year for 30 billion quid? This was a meme I saw, made me think. The meme makes, must be, hang on, mate. Fucking thing's spun off again. Fucking bastard thing. Would you live in a padded room for a year for 30 billion quid? This was a meme I saw, made me think. These meme makes must be rich because I do it for 500 grand. I'll do it for $1 million. Yeah, in a padded cell for a year. Yeah, as long as I had access to books and stuff and writing materials. And are we allowed the internet? Probably not. But if I had books, I'd do it for a year. Yeah, for $1 million quid. Of course I would. Johnny the Ford, you will definitely be needing your thermal underwear in Antarctica. Definitely, mate. Definitely. Johnny the Frog, they say that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Yeah, I've heard that expression. True, of course. Adam, I know you did a video, but I was quite impressed with Jack Catterall's last fight. He said in the interview he was working on confidence to exchange. Very honest, never liked his fights. Now I'll watch. Well, the thing about Catterall in that fight was he was more aggressive. He was throwing more punches and he was being more front-footed. But after 4 or 5 rounds, he was puffing a little bit. And towards the end of the fight, even though I know he got the win eventually, and it was a good finish, but there were some middle rounds where he needed his second win. Working with Ennis, Bosie Ennis, yeah, give him. It takes a while for a trainer and his charge to come together and really maximise the potential. It takes a while. Rem says the fact we only know like 0.001% of all species that have ever lived fascinates me. I really want to see them all firsthand, though impossible. Well, of course, many species have died out. If you go to the Natural History Museum, there's a whole section with like these models of creatures that have gone extinct. That's fascinating stuff, like the dodo, and with the species that exist that we've never even seen. Well, if you go down to the seabed, I mean, miles under the water, there's all sorts of species that people don't know what the fuck they are. They've never seen them before. I think things even live at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which is the lowest point under the sea. It's like 7 miles under the water. It goes 7 miles down. James Cameron, the film director, who did Titanic and Avatar. He's big on what they call it, marine stuff, submersibles, going underwater. He's been to the Titanic about 30 times, 35 times, but he has been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which is unbelievably deep, 7 miles deep, and in this enormous ball of steel, and lived to tell the tale. And there's all sorts of species down there that no one knows what they are. Fascinating subject. Adam says, do you ever watch tennis? It's my favorite sport, right next to boxing. I used to watch tennis a lot when I was a teenager. That was the era of Bjorn Borg, John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Ivan Lendl, all them. And then I have watched bits and pieces of the whole era with what's the guy, the Swiss guy, Federer. What was it? The three big ones: Federer, Djokovic, and the Spanish fella. Yeah, those are three of the greatest tennis players I've ever seen. Unbelievably good. This is why when people talk about Murray winning a couple of Wimbledon titles and a US Open, that's an achievement when you consider the era that he was in with these incredible three. What was it? What's the Spanish fella's name? You got the Spanish fella, you've got Djokovic, and you've got Federer, and three of the greatest tennis players ever winning, 20 Grand Slams or whatever it is. And then you've got Murray, who's won 3 in that era. That's not bad. I know he's below him, but bad at all. Russell says, The Wire. You've seen the Kensington video. Yeah, I've seen the Kensington video. Yeah, horrendous, mate. Yeah, Russell Newton. The Wire's a great series, and it really is great. I don't know what's more horrific, certain scenes in The Wire or looking at those videos of Kensington. What have we got here? Lieutenant Frank. Seems strange now that Wardley went life and death with Fraser Clark only 18 months ago. That's a good point, yeah. Which seemed to indicate his level. And look where he is now. Shows us how unpredictable boxing could be. Shows you what can be achieved through hard work and dedication. I know that's a cliche, but here we are. It's true. Russell says, off to bed. Night all. Good luck with the job hunting, Joe. Thank you very much, Russell. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Johnny the Frog. The drug problem in America seems horrendous, having seen some of the channels on YouTube documenting the people living on the streets. Yeah, Johnny, it's horrific, mate. I mean, I've seen some things over here in the UK because I used to work in that field, but in America, you're like, what the fuck is this? Entire areas just full of these fucking junkies laying on the street, injecting, and oh my God almighty. And the coppers do fuck all. The coppers don't do anything. Who have we got? Oh, Johnny the Frog's gone off to bed, yeah. Oh, he's named that at Russell. Said good night to Russell. Alex, Joe, what's Peterborough town centre like? To me, it's shocking how all you seem to see are Turkish barbers, vape shops, and takeaways. Certainly the case where I'm in the northwest. That's my rant. Yeah, Peterborough city centre is a shithole. All right, it's ghastly. What they did was, if you look at pictures of Peterborough in the 70s, it had roads going through, you had buses, you had the shops, you had the cathedral, and it looked like a city, a proper city. Then they pedestrianised it by pouring concrete all over the fucking place. So it's all pedestrianised, it's just a block of concrete. And you've got this beautiful cathedral, which is hidden, more or less, well, maybe not hidden, but it's right next to a shopping centre. So whose brain fart of an idea was that? We'll build a shopping centre next to a Bronze Age cathedral and we'll cover the rest in concrete. Owen Foster, still alive, Joe. Who would you have winning this fantasy matchup? Jersey Joe Walcott or Archie Moore at heavyweight? Moore. I mean, Archie did fight at heavyweight, of course. So did Jersey Joe. Neither of them was particularly big. Jersey Joe was bigger in natural weight, but Archie Moore was exceptional. But Jersey Joe was a good fighter. Spartan Will, I got two. What's this? Two US. Well, I don't understand what that is. In chemistry, physics, and biology, and got a 05/100 in one of my maths exams. Lowest mark in the history of the college. I got 3% once in a chemistry exam. I think that's because I spelt my name right. 3% out of 100. Can you believe it? Holy shit. Yorkie Mike, play some guitar or stream on it, or on stream, or it didn't happen. Play some guitar. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. What is that palace type of structure? The palace? What are you talking about, mate? Structure behind you. A palace? I don't know what you mean, mate. Palace type of structure behind me. It's just a door, mate. Sorry. Johnny the Frog. Brian Setzer is quite simply one of the greatest guitarists of all time. I have no doubt about it. No doubt about it. What do you think of the Who, Joe? To be honest, Owen, I was never their biggest fan. The Who. Never that big on the Who. But I did like Quadrophenia, the film. Their music was pretty good in that, but I was never a massive fan, mate, to be honest with you. Red says, my favourite guitarist is James Williamson on Iggy and the Stooges' Raw Power. Yes, completely agree. Yeah. The Stooges, Iggy's made some great fucking records. And the Stooges, brilliant. He's still doing it. What is he? He must be fucking pushing 80, Iggy. He's in his 70s, isn't he? But yeah, the Stooges, fantastic band. Raw Power is an immense record. Joshua 7849. I'm so basic, but George Harrison is my goat. Yeah. George Harrison, I assume you've heard the triple album, All Things Must Pass. Alex says, ever visited South America, Joe? My wife's Argentine. Buenos Aires is brilliant. You love it. I've never been to South America, no. No, I never have. But I'd like to go. Rem, Joe, what was your worst memory of school? Having to go there? I moved around a lot. I because of family reasons, we moved around a lot. By the time I was 11, I'd been to about 5 schools. So whenever I'd make friends, I'd go, because we were in North London, South London, and to start with, I ended up in. I started off with where my grandparents lived, which is just outside St Albans. Then in North London, which is where I'm originally from, back to there. Then South London, because we got a council flat. Then it was back. Oh fucking hell! It was all over the place. But I some of the schools I like. One of the schools I ended up liking a lot. Nah, but I went to some. I didn't like school at all. I really didn't like it, especially secondary school. Everyone wear that stupid uniform. Owen Foster, the Ox, Thunder Thingers. John Entwistle was an amazing bass player. Yes, he was good. He was good. I tell you, one of my favourite bass players was Andy Rourke of the Smiths. What an incredible bass player he was. Jazzy Jabs. To clarify, Joe, the padded foam room. You've lost me, mate. I'm sorry, Jazzy. Yorkie Mike says, Rem, stick at it. I play too, and it hurts your fingers after a layoff, but it's totally worth the slog. Couldn't agree with you more, Mike. Yep. Rem, listen to the man. He's right. Get back on a guitar and cane it, and your fingers will hurt. You'll get blisters. You go, fucking hell, I'm not getting anywhere. You are getting somewhere, because your fingers are getting strong, and then it'll seem like almost overnight, after a month or two, oh hell, I can actually play these chords now. It's really weird, but persevere. Please persevere. Dean Walsh says, Joe, you hard up, no heating on. I'm not rolling in money, mate, but I just begrudge paying them any money, paying these bastards any money. So I don't have the heating on. Jazzy Jabs, padded room challenge meme, no books or tech, nothing. Oh, I see what you mean. Just a room and 3 square meals a day for a year. No books or couldn't live without books and maybe a little bit of music. No, I'd probably go mad, mate. I don't know if I could do it. I'd probably go insane. A year's a long time. Pierre says, what a good fight card this weekend. Yes, it is. It is good. I shall be watching via other means. But yes, good card. Pierre says, Nakatani Inoue 226. I go for Inoue in that one, mate. But Nakatani is a good fighter. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset, but I'm picking Inoue. All right, I caught my brother Joe Stunner boxing live. Bruce Gass, yay! Nice one, Bruce. Always welcome, mate. You're always welcome. I like Bruce Gass. I've been on a few of his, I've watched a few of his, well, quite a few of his lives, and they're always great. I think me and him we used to have a chat on, was it Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel, Bruce? We used to get on sometimes. I haven't been on there for ages, but I don't know whether Beats still does the panels. Jazzy Jabs. Yes, Pierre, my favourite pay-per-view event since Usyk Dubai. Can't wait, though the times are a bit late for me in the UK. Yeah. Adam, 2004. Did you ever read the something books? What's he written here? Excuse me. Did you ever read the QI books? Interesting. There's one that has 100 pages, and on every 2 pages are facts of a different animal. No, you got me on that one, mate. Sounds interesting, but I didn't read them. Rem, seeing footage of the Titanic rotting away at the bottom of the seabed saddens me. Yeah, it's creepy, isn't it? Creepy stuff. Because I'm again, the Titanic was it 85 that Robert Ballard found the wreck, and seeing it was just blew my mind. Because I'd read as a kid, I read about it, and I was like, "Fucking hell, they found the damn thing." And the pictures of it, lying on the seabed was so haunting. Because when you think about it, it's a gigantic graveyard for 1,500 people. And that silly tit with his submersible, the guy who, Stockton Rush, fucking idiot. And the three guys, they all went down in that ridiculous submersible and it imploded. The Titan. Titanic is fascinating. Really fascinating. I'll tell you a little story. This is nothing to do with boxing. This is about the Titanic. There was a guy called Morgan Robertson. He was a writer in the 1880s, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And he wrote a book called Wreck of the Titan. And it was about a gigantic ship with a steamer that hit an iceberg in the Atlantic and sank, killing about 1,500 people. He wrote this book for 20 years, roughly, before the Titanic sank. It's one of the biggest sort of premonitions, if you like. It's called Wreck of the Titan. Even the name is similar, Titanic. And Stockton Rush, with his stupid submersible that imploded, was called the Titan as well. But yeah, that book is it's like Nostradamus stuff. Go and read it, Wreck of the Titan. He describes the ship, 4 funnels, the dimension, 862 feet or whatever it was, long. It's the Titanic. It hits an iceberg and sinks. But he wrote this book, Titanic, 1912, the Titanic sank. Robertson wrote his book, I think, in the 1890s. Unbelievable story. I digress. Anyway, Bruce Gass, yeah, he's still here. Johnny the Frog, I've seen creatures at sea that would bend your bones, I bet. Jazzy Jabs, women's tennis is better, I think. The only sport I think. It's men's tennis, they hit too hard, not very interesting. Well, they didn't back in the day when it was wooden rackets, in my day. But yeah, they're like bullets, aren't they? It's incredible. Incredible. Rem says, has a horror movie ever scared you to the point of paranoia? Not that bad, but I remember the first time I saw The Exorcist, I must have been about 16, 17. And we went around, a bunch of us went around a mate's house. And this wasn't that, it was dark 'cause it was in the winter, but it wasn't that late. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening. Because I remember my mate sitting by the telly on the floor with his tea, eating his tea, and I was sitting on the sofa, and there were a couple of birds there. They were sitting on, if I remember right, there's about 6 of us. And The Exorcist came on, and we were like, oh, well, this is all right, I suppose. It's all right, not bad. And then, of course, it kicks off when Reagan gets possessed by the demon. All 6 of us were sitting on the sofa, huddled up, going, "Oh my god, fucking hell, this is terrifying." The Exorcist, best horror movie ever, in my opinion. And then me and 2 mates, we had to walk home in the fucking dark. It wasn't even late. It was maybe 7 o'clock in the evening or 8 o'clock in the evening. Oh, fuck. Oh god, that was 40 years ago. Time flies. Make the most of it while you can. Nadal is the French tennis player I was trying to think of. Of course he is. Yeah. Jake Jensen. What annoys me about Ben, he states Haney's undisputed champion or Shakur 3-weight world champion. Ben hasn't beaten up a top 10 in his own division. True. Yeah, Haney was undisputed at lightweight. Shakur, three-weight belt holder. Yeah, I mean, Ben has got it all to prove. Fair play to him for taking them on, but can he even get down to 147? I don't think so. Dean Walsh. Joe, are you born and bred in Peterborough? Certainly not. No, I'm from London, but I have been in Peterborough for some years now. I don't like the city particularly, but I don't like it at all, actually. But it is the closest, because when I came back from America, it's the closest place to London that I can afford, if you know what I mean. Because like I said, I went to a gig in London last Friday. You jump on the train, 50 minutes later, you're in King's Cross. So it has that convenience about it. And I just can't afford to live in London. No one gets rich doing the work I do. Working with vulnerable adults. You don't get any money. Jake Jensen. I work in St Albans, Joe. Always some jobs down here, but thankfully I'm still from Blyth. Well, my grandparents lived in Park Street, which is a little village just outside St Albans. And when I was very young, I lived with my grandparents when I was from baby to a toddler. I do remember living there vividly. It's my happiest years of my life, without question. It's sort of between, if you've got St Albans and you've got Park Street, it's a little village, and you've got Bricket Wood, and you go towards Watford, and then from Watford you go to North London. So all of that area I know very well. But I have lived in Peterborough a long, long time now, and too long. I don't like it, but it's convenience, and I own a flat here. So, once I've done my mortgage, finished that off, I'll probably sell this flat, and maybe I'll get a little bit of inheritance, and I'll be able to get a small place down in St Albans. That's ultimately what I want to do. Rem says, what does Rem say? Joe, if you could live in any time period, which one would you choose? I'd choose to be a servant in the royal palace somewhere in the 1700s or something. Why a servant? Why wouldn't you be king, Rem? King Rem. Go for it, mate. I don't know where I did. Victorian times is cool. Yeah, I like Victorian times, but then only if I had money, because if you were working class living in Victorian times, you weren't getting past the age of 35. Adam says, I meant the blue thing by the window behind you under the picture frame. Oh, that blue fucking smoke thing? Is that what you're talking about? Behind you under the picture frame. What have we got here? We've got some boxes here. The blue thing is the light. I've got these lights on the ceiling. going around. So you can see them there. Yeah, I think that's what you mean anyway. Lieutenant Frank, lots of posts on Usyk giving up the belt, being a duck. Not a lot mention about him being injured, like he says. Based on his track record, shouldn't we be giving him the benefit of the doubt? Yeah. I've got nothing against Usyk. Usyk is my favourite fighter, my favourite modern fighter. As much as I love Inoue and Crawford, I think Usyk is number one. And if you look at everything he's achieved, he's won all of his world titles on the road. He's ducked absolutely no one. He dominated in what I think is the greatest ever cruiserweight era. I know the cruiserweights only go back about 40 years, but it was the best era, and he beat the lot. And then he came up to heavyweight and did the same thing. Benefit of the doubt, yeah. Doesn't even have to be that. Spartan Will, got to head off now. Big up Joe Stanley every time. Thank you, Will. Take care, mate. Catch you later on here. We'll do another live sometime. Adam, who would win, Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora 4? It would be a hard one for me to pick. I reckon Chisora edges it, a KO in the 11th. You never know, do you? Johnny the Frog, Toodle Pip. See you later, Johnny. Would Josh Taylor be in your top pound for pound of UK fighters ever? Top 10, Josh Taylor? Undisputed, but his peak was very, very low, very, very brief. Kid Lewis, Lennox, Wild, top 10. I'd think about it. Maybe. I don't know. Good question. Joe, you should get into match betting. I do bet sometimes, mate, but only drips and drabs. I haven't got the money, and I just like, I just put a tenner on or whatever, just to make it a bit more interesting. And if I lose it, who gives a fuck? And I think I'm a little bit ahead or 50-50. I'm not losing much, but I don't bet much. Alex, any irrational fears, Joe? I hate public speaking. I pronunciate a lot of my worms. Well, irrational fears, deep water. So I said that I'm a Titanic enthusiast, if you like, but there's no fucking way I'd ever go down there. Not a fucking chance. In all seriousness, would you pick Tyson Fury versus Bo? Tyson Fury against Bo? On his day, on his best day, Bo beats Fury. A close one, and I'm not saying Fury couldn't win. Boxing match, it'd be a points thing. I think Bo would probably edge it. Bo, when he was on it, was brilliant, a brilliant fighter, but he didn't have the discipline. His resume is actually quite good if you look at some of the people he beat. But he pissed a lot of his talent away. It's a shame. At least he was undisputed champ for a while. Well, I think he held all the belts, didn't he? Yeah. Yorkie Mike says solitary confinement is literally cruel and unusual punishment on a scale none of us could do a year. Yeah, solitary confinement. I mean, I've spoken to people who've done it for a few weeks, and they've said it's horrendous. I remember watching an interview with the former mafioso Michael Francese, who was a capo regime in the mob, and he said they stuck him in solitary confinement for months, and he said it's insane. I think they gave him a Bible, which is probably why he became a born-again Christian. But yeah. Adam says the QI books, they are themed around the QI TV show. Oh, yeah. Is that the show that Stephen Fry used to present? Yeah, I know what you mean now, mate. Yeah. Johnny the Frog, were you a big fan of The Clash? Yes, I was, mate. Johnny, they're one of my favourite bands. I love The Clash. I never saw them live. I was a bit too young. But I know Ray Gange, who was in Rude Boy, the Clash film Rude Boy. I know Ray. a little bit. I've been to the boxing with Ray, actually. Got photos of me and Ray Gange at the boxing. You're cool. So yeah, I love the Clash. I absolutely love them. Favorite album from the Clash? Well, the first one I bought again because I was too young to appreciate them. When they started, I was listening to Boney M. I still love Boney M, but I caught up with the Clash later on. Best album. I really like Combat Rock because it's a bit of everything. But there's so much. All the albums are so different. You've got the punk album, which is the first album, which is lo-fi, sort of punk. Brilliant songs, but recorded in a very rudimentary way. Then you've got the big production, Give 'Em Enough Rope, which was an incredible record, but basically a hard rock record. Excellent songs. London Calling, fantastic bit of everything. Sandinista, a sort of magnum opus of bit of every. I mean, very experimental. 6 sides when it was on vinyl. It was a triple album, 6 sides. Then you got Combat Rock. I will ignore Cut the Crap, which wasn't really a Clash album. It's the remnants of the Clash. Yeah, but I did love them. Did love them. What have we got now? Rem says there's some old book they discovered from a few thousand years ago, 200 pages long, completely unreadable languages, strange drawings of fairies and unknown herbs in it too. I wish we could know. Wow. Does that have a name, that book? That's interesting. A book from hundreds of years ago, 200 pages long, completely unreadable language. Then we need some sort of Rosetta Stone, don't we, to unlock it? But I don't know whether we're going to get it. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yorkie Mike, I didn't realise how recently the Titanic was found. Must have been quite something to see it after all that time. Yeah. Yeah, Stockton Rush and his idiot squish. Oh, God, Stockton Rush. He virtually murdered those people on there, getting them in that stupid submersible. Every fucker told him, you can't make a deep sea diving submersible out of carbon fibre, you tit. And he just went and made one anyway, because there's no regulations. You see, you can make it out of tinfoil if you want. He's a fucking idiot. And I'll tell you what, one of the guys that was killed in that Titan submersible was a French guy called Pierre Nargelet, I think his name was, Mr. Titanic. I used to read his stuff when I was a kid, when I was into the Titanic. And he knew everything about the Titanic before it was found. Even before it was found, he knew about all the details. And he got in that damn submersible with Stockton Rush and got killed. And that Indian billionaire, whatever it was, millionaire, billionaire, and his son, they were killed. Well, that boy, he killed that kid. Oh, that fucker. It's a shame he's not alive. Then we could send him to prison for give him a 50 stretch. Adam, 2004. Would you rather have 10 tarantulas roam in your bedroom forever or 6 peg pigeons? You are not allowed to contain either of them in cages. What's a peg pigeon? I'll go for the pigeons because spiders, no. Irrational fears, deep water and spiders. Spiders give me the willies. Too many legs. Too many legs. Oh, pet pigeons, he means. I'll go for the pigeons every day of the week. I'd rather have pigeons shitting on me than spiders running around. No, fuck that. What else we got here? Johnny the Frog. The Titanic was considered unsinkable. Yes, it was. They actually wrote on the side, the legend is they wrote on the side, even God couldn't sink this ship. And God was like, hold my beer. Dear, oh dear. Owen Foster, the Hindenburg was seen as the Titanic of the sky. Yes, and that footage of it getting blown up or exploding. Oh, incredible footage. You see people jumping off it. Oh, my God. Yeah, the Hindenburg. Johnny the Frog. I watched The Exorcist at age 16. It was very disturbing. I must have been that age, Johnny. Rem says The Exorcist is very scary. Yeah, it is. It is. I'll tell you another good horror. It's more of a sci-fi horror that's fantastic if you haven't seen it. The Thing. John Carpenter movie. Fantastic movie. Really great special effects. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Has anyone seen The Thing? Great movie. Johnny the Frog, walking home from the cinema, looking up the bedroom windows. Jazzy Jazz. Oh man, The Exorcist for me, it's just pure class. I could talk for hours about it. Notable things for me: the character depth, the lighting, and the dialogue. Fucking golden standards of movie making. Absolutely correct, Jazzy. And the duel between the demon in the little girl and the father, what's his name, Carif, whatever his name is. That is like a fight, isn't it? Between the demon and the aging but utterly fearless priest. Riveting stuff. Absolutely riveting. Oh, Owen Foster mentioned The Shining. Yeah, that's a good film. That's a very good film. The Exorcist is scary to watch even now. I agree with you, Johnny. Rem, Alien. The original Alien movie. Yes. It wasn't 1976, Rem. I think it was more like 79. But yes, Alien, the original Alien is good. And the follow-up, which is a completely different type of movie made by James Cameron, who we mentioned earlier, that's a great movie. But that's a sort of shoot 'em up, almost like a cowboy in space movie. Brilliant movie. But the first one is more claustrophobic, more tension. Very, very good. Jake Johnson, can you name your top 10 British fighters of all time? Difficult. I don't know. Jimmy Wild, Ted Kid Lewis, in no particular order. Ted Kid Lewis, Jack Kidberg, Jimmy Wild, Lennox, Calzaghe, Fury, Conte. Definitely, without question. Ken Buchanan. How many is that? I don't know, was that 8? AJ might get a look in. Hatton. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? Hatton, definitely. Yeah, Hatton's good. It's probably a case of I could probably shortlist about 12 or 15, and then it's a case of who do I leave out. But top 10s are difficult, aren't they? Because you always have to leave a few people. Once you get to the lower reach of the top 10, it becomes there's like 4 or 5 people all vying for the last couple, 2 or 3 spaces. Difficult one. Rem, Alien made me feel like I was on another planet whilst watching it. So immersive. Yeah, it was great film. Johnny the Frog, the blue smoke in Joe's room is intriguing, spooky. That's that Timmy, what's it that bloke keeps talking about? Timmy Turner is coming to get me. Adam, £5. Thank you, sir. Love your vids, Joe. Keep it up. Brings enjoyment to a lot of us. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate the kind gesture. £5. Lovely jubbly. What we got here? Joe, the blue light in your room is Timmy Turner. Inside, what did I just say to you, Rem? Great minds, mate. Yeah. Who's this? Ikine PC Bishop. This boy is clearly an Usek fanboy. I don't know about a fanboy, mate, but I do like him. I think he's a brilliant fighter. Jethro, 9450. Good day from Australia, Joe. Much love, Jethro. Thank you, mate. What do you think of Tim Zoo's chance of getting a belt again? Don't know, mate. Damaged goods. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. I mean, Rem makes the point. He's 34 now. Has taken a lot of damage. I think, yeah, that bad knockout he had against the Russian, that took it a lot out of him. And I picked Fundora to stop him in the rematch, and he did. He stopped him easier than I thought he would. But, you know, it is what it is. Rem, who is the most famous person you know? I don't really know any famous people. I know a few boxers, like Cello Render. I know. I don't really know anyone famous. I used to go to school with a guy called Rankin Waddell, who is one of the biggest photographers in the world, actually. He photographed everyone from Queen Elizabeth to David Bowie, Madonna. In the 90s, he was a massive photographer. If you've ever heard of a magazine called Dazed and Confused. You see it in Smith's. It's a fashion magazine. Him and his mate Jefferson Hack, who I think is the father of Kate Moss's kid, they founded that magazine. Me and Rankin were mates at school. Last time I saw him was years ago in Covent Garden. I think he was getting that magazine together at the time. Anyway, I don't really know many famous people. Jazzy Jabs, Yorkie, I'm doing a year in a room for 30 billion. I will do it for the smile on my face, mate. I'll come out ripped as fuck too. You ever see a film called Papillon with Steve McQueen when they stick him in solitary confinement? It drives him insane. But to start with, he's getting fit, like doing 5,000 push-ups a day or whatever the fuck he's doing. But after a while, he just goes stir crazy. Jake Jensen, I do find it frustration how Crawford is avoiding Jaya Pattaya. Come on, leave it out, mate. Johnny the Frog, Joe Stone, in your opinion, did James Toney waste his talent to some degree by not looking after his body and putting on so much weight? Yeah, I mean, he looked brilliant at cruiserweight, didn't he, when he won the IBF belt, and then he moved up to heavyweight. If he'd stayed at cruiser, he could have unified. He was a brilliant fighter, Tony, but he never used to. I mean, it was all sparring and fighting with him. He'd spar, I suppose you could say he did waste a bit of his talent, but he had a good go at heavyweight. The fight with Rockman, he knocked out Holyfield. He had a good go at heavyweight. Rem says the strange book is called the Voynich manuscript. Look at that. Voynich manuscript. What the fuck? The Voynich manuscript. Oh, hello. Oh, I've got a bit of an AI thing here. Hey, let's read this out. The Voynich manuscript is a 15th century illustrated codex written in an unknown script called Voynichese that has baffled scholars for centuries. The manuscript contains elaborate illustrations of strange plants, astronomical diagrams, and naked women in interconnected pools. But its language and purpose remain a complete mystery. Rediscovered in 1912 by bookseller Wilfrid Voynich. This manuscript is now at Yale University. It is carbon dated to the early 15th century. There you go. Well, at least he's got some pictures, and they're naked women, so job's a good one. What we got here? Do you mind if I ask why you have never spoken about Ade with boxing? Why you've never spoken about Ade with boxing? I don't know Ade. You mean Ade Oladipo? I assume you mean. All I can say about Ade is I used to watch him with his friend Ryan when they did Box Talk. Oh, fucking hell, 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was. I don't even know. Yeah, I know G-Man. I'm friendly with G-Man. I know him quite well, and he is friends with Ade, and G-Man is doing a bit of work for DAZN and everything. But right, fellas, my battery on this is about to give out on this laptop, so I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I'm sorry if I haven't answered your questions, but we have been going for over 3 hours. So look, if I haven't got around to answering your question, my apologies. Very sorry about that, but I'm going to have to knock it on the head now. Otherwise, this is going to give out. It's going to die on me. But thank you very, very much for all your comments and for turning up. To ask Yorkie Mike, yes, I did see The Descent. Great film. Really good horror film as well. Dead Poet Society, Joe. Yeah, Rem, I've seen that. It's a good film. Very, very good film. If you've ever seen Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo, or if you've never seen it, watch that film, 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams. Great film. Great film. Duel is a fantastic film. Yorkie Mike, yes. Jaws with a truck. Steven Spielberg's first ever movie. Great movie. And yeah. All right, mate. Lads, if you've made a donation, any sort of donations, God bless you. I mean, thank you very much for that. Any sort of money, I appreciate it, because I'm not wealthy. But don't give me money if you're not wealthy. You keep your money for yourselves. But thank you if you have donated. We've had 3 hours of chit chat. I appreciate it greatly. Hit the like button, please, on the way out if you don't mind, because they count them, and now I know why. It's been explained to me. Thank you very much. Much love to all of you. Don't forget, Friday, Harlem Eubanks fighting on the card, the Channel 5 card, and also we've got the big one over in Riyadh as well. Take care, gents, ladies, and thanks again.